everybody. My name's Debbie. Welcome to my channel. We are on, I don't remember which day. Day 3. South Carolina v. Rick Chow. Andy Chow has just testified. They are about to go on a lunch break. We're going to skip that break and pick up after that. I'm going to try to get through this Chow case, which we're almost done with, I think. Hopefully, so we can watch the Tupac trial, if it is being streamed. I hope it's being streamed, because I really want to watch it. Judy has trivia for us, as always. The Chow family has ongoing civil litigation from the deceased teen's family, and they have been forced to leave their home and business due to safety threats. Beyond the civil lawsuit, another avenue is a federal review. Ooh. A South Carolina civil rights organization is calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to review the case to determine whether federal civil rights or hate crime violation occurred. That makes me very happy. Very, very, very happy. Hey, Nichelle. Good morning. Hey, Jill. Hey, Judy. Welcome, everybody. That makes me happy because, I got riled up on Friday, y'all. I texted Judy afterwards. I'm like, was the stream okay? Because I got riled up and everybody got really quiet. She said, yes, stream was fine. Chat was fine. Because the injustice of this case burns me up. I just cannot stand it, y'all. I can't stand it. Oh, it makes me mad. And I just don't understand how this jury came to this conclusion. It aggravates me, y'all. Ugh. So, the fact that it can be looked at and reviewed federally makes me very happy, because it used to be, back when the world was normal, if somebody was shot in the back, it was never self-defense. That used to be the one thing that would screw up a self-defense case every time. How is it self-defense? He was shot in the back.
Break for lunch. Y'all, again, don't discuss the case, don't do any research, anything of that nature. Avoid any media.
Supplement this and make this.
Come on, all right. All right, please be seated. Mind the cell phone, once you turn completely off on left, off the right.
Yes, sir. The last witness who testified, Andy Choi, we put in defense exhibit number 3, which was the body-worn camera that he testified about. If you remember, we took a pause during his testimony by of the video. The reason we paused is it was going to get into something about a prior shoplifting. So we paused it. It was not played for the jury. I think we stopped it in time. I went over to I think you saw me go over to a state table and tell them that that's why we were pausing, because I saw that it was coming up during the lunch break where we redacted to take that complete clip out. It has just been muted, Mr. Scott, completely based upon what the jury heard. So it has been muted out. So we'd like to replace, we'll leave it, of course, But I guess supplement this and make this defense 3A. And then before it goes to the jury, we would ask that the state have opportunity to review it and make sure it's what I've said.
Okay. But then 3 would not go to the jury.
3 does not go back to the jury.
Okay.
So I believe before I replaced it, I think, Mr. Scott, you want me to replace 3 with 3? Would that be easier? That's fine.
Yeah, I think that'd be the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Just we'll note for the record that the redacted version is now the only.
Yes, sir, and it has redacted. So, Your Honor, and that's a Madam Court Reporter, I'm going to ask that she mark that as 3. And then before it goes back to the jury, if the state could have opportunity to review it to make sure it is what I have said that it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we ready to proceed?
This is ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Cullen, get security, please, sir.
His story was all over the place. Like, you could tell he was trying to tell his story, not what really happened, like his story. Because the things that he told the police at the time and the things he was trying to say on the stand didn't match up.
That department and other departments prior to
Done.
that. Defense call, Mr. Richard Carter.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat in the witness stand and state your full name for the record.
Richard Cullen.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. You've come a pretty good distance today for us, and I appreciate that. You are actually investigator, Carter, is that correct?
No, sir.
All right,
I'm a deputy with Lancaster County Sheriff's Office.
deputy. But your work with that department and other departments prior to that have been as an investigator or investigation of crimes
Yes, sir.
or potential possible crimes.
Yes, sir.
So, lawyers are supposed to be very good at asking questions. That's not always the case, as I'm sure this jury has experienced. So if there's a point where I ask a question that makes absolutely no sense to you, do not hesitate to say, could you ask me that again? Or can you ask it in a different way? I'm very content with that, okay? Because it's very important that everything that you hear from me by way of a question is understood and that your answers are very clear, so for their understanding, okay? Thank you, sir. And you're going to have to, I'm going to pick on you because before I start, she will grab you by the neck and say, you can't nod your head. You did say, but
Sorry. Yes, I understand, yeah.
you got to be very careful about that because you know from, you testified before,
Yes,
probably dozens of times, so it's an easy habit to lapse into. So I'll pick on you before she gets on you. Now, you are employed at Lancaster,
Lancaster County Sheriff's Office.
and you drove there today, from there today.
Yes,
You got to work tonight.
yes.
Well, I want to ask you a little bit about your law enforcement career. So prior to working in Lancaster, you call it Lancaster, I call it Lancaster, and I'm from here, not Lancaster. But where'd you work before that? And just tell the jury, if you will, just give them a little quick narrative of the departments you worked in.
I'm on year 30. Prior to Lancaster, I worked for Richland County for 21 years. And prior to that, I worked in Mount Pleasant. I started my career in North Carolina, Carolina Beach PD.
I can't imagine why you left the beach, but okay. You came inland, and prior to all of those 3 stops with those departments, you went to the Criminal Justice Academy,
Yes, sir.
got trained there. You worked out of state with law enforcement?
So
And you worked with the department out of state?
I worked in North Carolina, with Carolina Beach Police Department. That's where I started.
All right, Carolina, I got you. All right, sir. So you were trained at the academy, and at the academy you took courses and were trained on things like crime scene investigation,
Yes, sir.
witness interviewing,
Yes, sir.
things that you do when you go to a possible crime scene, the kind of a list of things to do as,
Yes, sir.
as an officer on the scene.
Yes, sir.
And just for a moment, I want to dwell there and ask you, the things you do when you arrive at a crime scene, is there a priority or how you approach it, how you were trained to approach the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
All right, can you tell them about that?
As an initial responding officer, first is provide aid to the victim or injured. Then it's to secure the crime scene, preservation of the evidence, and to determine witnesses or individuals that may be present who have information regarding what occurred.
All right. And in terms of identifying witnesses, do you, is it important to talk with the witnesses, interview them, get information from them?
Yes, sir.
And is there a preference in law enforcement and in your training about how soon you interview people to get information from them?
Yes, sir.
And what's that preference?
I mean, when you're initially on the arrival on the scene, if people have information, it's important to identify who they are and what it is that they have seen or have not seen.
Is it important to do that sooner or later if you got the manpower to do it?
Sooner,
Why is that?
because the individuals that may be there may not be there when you get to them.
Might wander off?
Correct.
Are there other reasons that make it important to interview them? First, do you interview them, you get a group of witnesses together and interview them together, or what do you do?
No, I'll interview them separately.
Why do you do that?
So their stories aren't tainted or they don't, what's the word, influence
Somebody else?
someone else's story. You want them to be their own.
Okay. So you're going to try to separate the witnesses and talk to them as soon as you can to get their freshest recollection.
Correct.
And in the old days, before body cameras, did you have a notepad? Have to take notes?
Yes, sir, I did.
In the incident that we're going to talk about, May 28th of 2023, you didn't need a notepad, did you?
No, sir.
And that's because you were equipped with body cameras?
Yes, sir.
Or you were equipped with one, but virtually all of the officers on the scene had body cameras as far as you know?
Yes, sir.
And so, how did you come to find yourself at this scene that you're here to testify about?
Dispatch was notified of myself and the other deputies working on my shift at that time of an incident that occurred.
Okay. And that was an incident at 7441 Park Lane?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall that to be an intersection of Park Lane Road and Spring Tree Road?
Correct.
That sound right?
Yes, sir.
There was a gas station on the corner.
Yes, sir.
So from the time that you got the dispatch, do you recall, and this has only been 3 years, and I understand that, but do you have a recollection of how long it took you to get there?
At that time, I was on the 77 end of Decker Boulevard. And it took me running code or blue lights and siren.
Pretty quick.
A short time to get there.
Okay. And can you describe the scene when you arrived there?
When I arrived, there was a lot of people there, and I was trying to figure out who was going on with. There was a gentleman laying in the grass. There were people around the gentleman, and I believe fire and EMS were already on scene.
How about members of your department?
There was one other deputy that was on my shift,
You remember his name?
Deputy English.
Was he, I mean, you were working in his department, y'all were working together, so you knew him? when you
Correct.
arrived? And do you recall what roughly he had accomplished by the time you got there?
Well, we both pretty much got there about the same time. He was just a little bit faster than I was. He started already, had crime scene tape out. He was what I call securing the crime scene, or preserving what he's being told at that moment, trying to establish what was going on.
The things that you discussed before, the priority actions by officers arriving at the crime scene, you had a number of people there and you had a potential crime scene. What measures were taken that you recall to, as you described, preserve the crime scene or segregate it?
Once I was advised of potential evidence that was consistent with what the stories I was being told, the important thing was to make sure that piece of evidence was not removed unintentionally, because it could have, its location could have easily disappeared. So we moved the cars, we put crime scene, we expanded the crime scene area.
Put tape up?
Yes, with tape.
Crime scene tape. And that's a perimeter or a way of roping off the area?
Yes. And there was information of a bag that was thrown off. I guess it was a drain, a culvert, right there off the road. So
Let me show you. State's Exhibit 12 is this. Does that look familiar?
yes,
Is that the black bag or?
yeah, that appears to be the bag.
And you were telling us where that was located. Where was that?
It was in I guess, I don't want to say grassy, it's the growth off the side of the, it's where all the stormwater drains off in. And so it's kind of sitting down off of that.
So this crime scene was off of a curved roadway,
Yes,
Spring Tree. And so there was an area without any particular vegetation and then a tree line behind that.
correct.
Seem familiar? And before, well, this culvert that you're describing, was it a paved culvert?
I think a portion of it was, then there was concrete, and then it was,
But it, just for the jury's benefit, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it may be easier to just ask you, it started at the roadway level and then it went up or down?
down.
All right. It went down to a creek?
Yes.
And did you find that, or was it pointed out to you, this back?
It was pointed out. I can't recall where that information came from.
Do you recall how far down the culvert it was?
It wasn't that far.
5 feet, 10 feet?
10 feet?
It wasn't in the creek?
No, it wasn't a creek.
Okay. And where was Mr. Chow, this gentleman over here? You didn't know Mr. Chow at the moment you arrived? And
No, sir, I didn't.
you learned who he was during the
Correct.
investigation? And you had an occasion to be involved in an interview with him, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Where was he when you arrived?
When I first
Yes, sir.
made contact with him, he was standing on the sidewalk, right above where the piece of evidence was.
And during the time you were there, did you have interaction with a young man named Andy Chow?
I did.
And did you learn he was the son of Mr. Chow?
I did.
Did you learn that he was somehow involved in the incident as a witness or somehow involved?
I did.
And you were involved in an interview with him?
Yes.
All right. And where was he when you arrived, if you recall?
I don't recall.
All right. Well, during the interview that was conducted with your participation, and we're coming to that in one moment, where was Mr. Chow's son when you and another officer were talking with Mr. Chow?
He was down, he was closer to Park Lane on the sidewalk.
So he wasn't standing there listening, he
No,
wasn't
sir.
participating in that interview. And now, the interview of Mr. Chow, how many times did you speak to Mr. Chow in an interview setting?
The only time I interacted and spoke with Mr. Chow was when he was standing on the sidewalk.
All right, all right. And who began the discussion with Mr. Chow that you then walked up to and participated in?
Deputy.
Your Honor, at this time, and so was there a point in this
Honor,
interview
at this
with
time what?
Investigator English that you were standing there next to him after a point of, he had started before you walked up, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so at some point, as Mr. Chow was speaking, Investigator English went over to talk to someone else and you remained?
Yes, sir.
And so, let me do this, if we may, Your Honor, we have talked and we would like to show the interview that's already been admitted. It is the interview on scene that Mr. English conducted with Mr. Chow, with this gentleman participating. It takes 3 minutes, Jim? Minute and a half, okay. Okay. Fire away. Is this the entire, or are we starting late in it? I can't remember. All right. So if you'll watch this.
was shoplifted in my store. I sat right there. He followed him out. I followed. On the way down here, we told him to drop at the store.
Right.
I think it's a train song. I think he ran over here. He checked it out. He checked around here.
Okay.
He stopped to pick up. By the time he got up, my son got up over there. And then right about when my son saw a gun, he said, he's got a gun. So I shoot my gun. I didn't drop it. He continued to run with the gun. And my son, he's calm. I was behind him. The floor in my face. So I fired one shot. He was firing 45 something.
Okay.
I fired one shot.
So that's your gun?
It's my gun. It's my concealed weapon.
Okay.
Well, he's
When did you fire a shot?
huh?
Like I said, he's in a gun.
He's my son saw. I didn't see it initially. My son. So when
So you recall much of that?
Yes, sir.
And that's accurately portrays what occurred?
Yes, sir.
And where were you in that video, just for the jury's benefit? Was that you on the right side of the screen?
Yeah. Deputy English was, that's the angle view. I was standing sliding on the right.
And during that period of time, when you walked up to participate in the interview, your body camera was activated and rolled.
Yes, sir.
And so, Your Honor, the second video, well, let's go ahead and offer that. Is our extracted evidence satisfied?
It's already in the state's court.
That's what I was thinking. All right.
Or for ID. So it's up here.
Your Honor, I would offer that it's been authenticated twice. And,
Any objection? Hang on. All right, Investigator Carter's body cam footage will be admitted as defendant's floor without objection.
Your Honor, I am told the video we just watched was already in as a state's exhibit. Is that
That's correct.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood. What we now, like, you have seen your body camera footage outside the courtroom this morning, or today.
Yes, sir.
And so you authenticated it to me, and I discussed with the solicitor's office that this is his body camera footage. And is it correct, investigator, that your body camera footage does not include a little bit of what we just saw, but it picks up in the middle of it and continues until the end of your interview with, or your interview of
Yes.
Mr. Chow?
Yes, sir.
All right, just so nobody's confused about what we're watching. So is it correct that what we're watching are two overlapping videos, two body camera videos, one of English, yours is the second one, of one continuous process of discussion with Mr. Chow. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But English departed at some point, and that's when you step up. So let's see that, Your Honor.
Let me, just before, we did talk about it, Sean. I'm just noting this is almost a 4-minute video. Are we playing the entire 4 minutes? That was not my understanding.
No, I think we're playing only, I don't know how long it goes, but we're playing only so much of the this body cam footage that is his interview of Mr. Chow. And I think that goes 4 minutes.
What will be admitted into evidence then? Is my question, Your Honor.
Well, Your Honor, we'll stop it and redact it, but I thought we had done that. What? It's all his interview? Yes. Well, Your Honor, apparently this body camera footage of your interview with this gentleman is 4 minutes.
I'll stand ready as long as they can pause it up front.
Yeah.
Maybe just, I'm sorry, I hate to, maybe just approach it really quickly on. Sure.
All right, Investigator Carter, a little earlier, we showed you out of the lobby the footage we're about to see. And it's only, all we're offering is your interview, your body camera footage of the balance of the interview with Mr. Chow. And that's what you watched outside, correct?
Yes.
If we can begin.
So that's your gun?
It's my gun. It's my concealed gun.
Okay. Why did you fire a shot?
He's my son saw. I didn't see it initially. My son alerted me that he had a gun. So when I loaded his hand, he actually had a handgun in his hand. So as my son was trying to reverse what happened to the target, and he didn't fall. So
Let's back up. So, why did y'all chase me?
He shot me pretty much. My son chased after him, and I fought. So we went all the way down the street here. Right about, he shot up, he fell down. My son shot after him. And then when we get up, he's not running, people do something. Yes, I saw. Yeah, he has a gun. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't deal.
Mr. Carter, now that's, can you, gosh, I don't know that it's necessary, but it might be helpful. Do you mind stepping down for 1 second? I'll find you the little pointer we've been using. The area that we were talking about at the beginning of your testimony, this culvert where the backpack was found, Chase Exhibit 1, can you point to that area where the culvert begins?
That's in this right here. Sorry.
And so, as you testified before, the bag itself would have been, there's a hill there that would have been down the hill some distance.
Right, it's slanted over here.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Have a seat. You can just put that up there. I don't think you need to be strapped in. You're comfortable up there without that seat belt there. All right, let's resume.
What is your gun look like?
Mine's a dog. I'll be here. If you want to have it, I can.
You got it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to need that.
You want to get it? I can go with it. You want to get it? So, I think the place on that because I actually move it away from him. I talk to him.
And what, caliber was that?
It's a 45. You're not going to get it. Okay, I'll shot. We went down the street. On the way out, we went to talk. I didn't even go back. We didn't. But he should focus somewhere around. I guess the train. This is all there. So when I watch, there's a gun in his hand. No, I mean, I'm behind. It's my son. I mean, the gun is facing him. Did he survive? That is,
All right, Your Honor, this would be so, Your Honor, this has been properly authenticated. And is that your body camera footage?
Yes,
So it accurately reflects the conversation you had with Mr. Chow at the time?
yes, sir.
So, Your Honor, we would offer this as a defense exhibit.
It's in evidence this court.
Well, I think the first thing that you ruled in evidence was an excerpt of what is already in evidence as a state exhibit. This is a defense exhibit. This was not an evidence.
This is defendant's exhibit 4, which is already admitted.
Okay. I missed that. All right.
I mean, you need to get up here and get it marked. Okay.
Okay, so it's been approved. All right, thank you. Now, subsequent to that interview with Mr. Chow, did you have occasion to interview Andy Chow?
Yes,
And that is also captured on your body camera?
yes.
And between the time that you interviewed and spoke with Mr. Chow and the time that you interviewed Andy Chow, which interview occurred first?
The interview with Mr. Chow.
And do you know what period of time later, how much time between the two interviews?
I couldn't tell you specific.
Did you notice they're talking with each other, getting together?
I did not.
And Your Honor, so you have viewed outside a few moments ago your interview of Andy Chow.
Yes, sir.
And did the interview on your body camera footage, that was your body camera footage, yes?
Yes, sir.
And was it accurate, complete, as far as you can tell?
Yes, sir.
Let's see that. And Your Honor, we intend to offer this as authenticated that this is, I'm not sure where we are on defense exhibits 5? 7. That's why I went to law school. I'm not very good at numbers.
I am thoroughly confused.
Well, Your Honor, we,
What number is this?
this is 7. Defense 7 this is the interview you have reviewed outside, which is your interview with Andy Chow, which is not, it's not no. Outside. We now offer them as exhibits, defense exhibits, ask to publish to the jury or pre-publish that one, maybe out of order. And I would ask that this be admitted as his body camera footage authenticated by him, and I'll be allowed to have it marked, and I'll be allowed to now publish it. Exhibit.
Any objection, Mr. Scott?
Just because, what number is this one at?
That's where I'm confused.
Yes. Number.
I thought we were on 5.
That's what I
Someone
thought.
up there said a 7.
How many?
No, it's that shit down there. We're on number 7.
Okay. No,
No objection. What you're about to show is number 4. Put in.
I do not believe so.
4 was
was the one we just saw with Rex.
This one is a body camera by Mr. Carter that was not able to be introduced without his presence.
I understand. I'm just trying to figure out the number.
I'm told that by his team that that is not that one.
So then this one's mislabeled.
All right, one, Andy Chow was marked as 4 for ID purposes during Mr. Andy Chow's testimony.
Well, let's see.
And I is it.
The video you're about to play is 7.
It's 7.
Okay.
I'm happy with 7, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be admitted that defendant 7 without objection.
Okay, John, without objection, number 7.
Okay, may we publish, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just want to go back through. We just go back through again. So we go down.
So I was at the register. I thought he had pocketed like a water or something. So we told him to take it out, and he just kept his hands in the pocket. So then after that, he started going out the door, and so we chased him. He threw stuff out at that corner there, and he was running back down this way. And then I caught up to him once, and then he kept going. He tripped right here, and then that's when I caught up to him. And where my dad is right there, I caught up to him like right here, like standing right next to him. Or not like standing, I was like running next to him, and that's when he had like pulled out the gun. And then I yelled gun, and I like backed up, I like stopped. I asked my dad, like, was he on stop, like drop it or something? And then that's when my dad, he didn't just drop it. So my dad shot him. And then he dropped to the floor. And he was like, you know, holding his back or something. And then he had dropped the gun, so my dad had like pushed it to that second tree over there. And then he was still on the floor conscious. And then we called 911. And around that time, that's when like the people had come down like that parking lot. And then the white woman, she was EMT, so she came and that's when we noticed he was unconscious. So then she did the like tourniquet and was doing CPR. And so then I left because I heard the sirens. So I went down to the parking lot, and then they started parking like on the outside on Parkland. So I was waving them to come down here. And then after everyone, most of the cars had come down here, I came back. And then DS had already started putting up the tape. So then, I just didn't hear this time. Yeah. Okay.
More formal statement or whatever. You check with the sergeant and then
All right. And so, other than you, when you left the scene that evening, you had no further involvement in this investigation, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything on cross-examination?
No, sir.
All right, sir. You can start that back to you.
No.
We need that too. I think so.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Let's get it on. All your notes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Defense called Shelby Bradwell. She's walking in on her.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Please have a seat. The witness stand and state your full name for the record.
Shelby Bradwell.
Shelby, if you'll spell your last name for Madam Court Reporter for me, please.
Bradwell.
Now, Shelby, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I go over rules with everybody so we can understand and be on the same page, okay? And that's the first one. Madam Court Reporter is taking down every word that you're saying, so she cannot take things like and head shakes. Can we make sure we can speak loud and affirmatively so she can get down every word?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
fair? Number two, and that's the second one. She can't take when we talk over one another. So if you'll allow me to finish my question, I'll give you plenty of opportunity to answer the question. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And at some point in time, and she will tell you also, I've been known to speak way too fast, and sometimes it's hard to understand my questions. So if you don't understand it or don't ask understanding questions from anybody else, if you'll ask them to repeat, they'll repeat their question. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Shelby, first of all, if you'll let this jury know who are you, where are you from, a little bit of your background. Just let them know who Shelby is.
I'm Shelby Bradwell. I'm originally from here. I am a deputy sheriff for Fairfield County.
And before that, what did you do?
Before becoming a deputy sheriff, I was an EMS student and I did security for a hospital.
And you were here under subpoena, is that correct?
That's correct.
Ever testified under oath before?
No.
So we'll do this together. Take your time and breathe, and we'll get to it. It won't take very long. Shelby, we have seen you on some of the body cam footages. Will you tell the jury about what you did, and you know what case it is? So if you'll let the jury know, what did you do about the case that we're talking about today? What was your role?
So basically that day, I was a civilian and I stopped and provided CPR to Cyrus. Whenever I pulled up on scene, I noticed that there were 3 individuals. I pulled in the parking lot of an apartment complex right over there. I ran to where those 3 individuals were. I asked if help was needed. They stated yes.
Let me slow you down real quick. Using words like pronouns like they and so forth. Do you know who they were who asked that they needed help?
I asked Rick Chow and his son.
Did you know them before this?
No.
Were y'all personal friends or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
And so I got your testimony. You were just happened to be driving by.
Yes, sir.
And again, when you were driving by, what did you see?
I seen 3 individuals on the ground to my left.
Okay. And then that's when you stopped your vehicle.
That's correct.
And now let's go from there. And so what happened at that point in time?
Whenever I went over there, I asked Rick Chow and his son if they needed help. They stated yes. I then told them that I was an EMS student. Rick Chow's son, he moved out the way so I can get on the left side of Cyrus. I then checked for a pulse. I didn't feel a pulse. So I started doing chest compressions. And then as I was doing chest compressions, Rick Chow was doing mouth to mouth. And
this is something you were watching yourself, like the 2 of you were there.
correct.
Was anyone else around the area while you were doing this that you saw?
I don't really remember. I was just focused like on Cyrus at the moment.
Okay, so go on.
As I was doing chest compressions, he was doing mouth to mouth. He was sucking the vomit out of Cyrus's mouth, and he was spitting it to the side of him.
Hold up. Let me go through that again with you. What do you mean he was sucking the vomit out of the young man's mouth?
Cyrus had vomit in his mouth and his airway, and he bent down and put his mouth over Cyrus's and was getting the dope out.
with your
As he was doing the mouth resuscitation?
Yes.
Have you ever seen anyone do anything like that before?
No, sir.
Did this just happen one time?
No, he did it multiple times as I was compressing.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, sir.
Was he, from your impression, trying to save the young man's life at this point in time?
I think it's fair to say that.
Okay. And what happened then as he was doing this on multiple occasions?
He kept spitting it out, and then it was brought to my attention that Cyrus had been shot, and I didn't know where, so they rolled him over and they showed me his back, and I seen the entry wound, and whenever I seen it, I took my shirt off and I was going to apply a tourniquet. However, I then remembered that you can't apply a tourniquet to the abdomen area. So we just left my shirt be. We just left it up under him, rolled him back over, and I kept doing chest compressions.
Okay. And did you see during this time Mr. Chow having a conversation with his son or talking about getting their stories together or anything like that?
No, sir.
And so all you were able to witness is when you got there, Mr. Chow and his son there together,
That's correct.
and the older child was helping you perform mouth-to-mouth on the young man at the time.
That's correct.
And I want to make this clear. You're not saying he was clearing his airways or clearing the vomit out with his fingers and throwing it out. That's not what you saw.
No, he was using his mouth.
As he was doing the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
That's correct.
And so he was doing it, the vomit would come out, he'd spit it out, and then go back and continue to do mouth resuscitation.
Yeah, he was, as I'm compressing, he was over Cyrus the entire time, like his mouth, and he was
Can we
just
quit
sucking
talking
it
about
and spitting
that?
it to the side.
That's
Thank you. That's all the
improper
questions I have.
procedure.
Thank you.
Anything on cross-examination?
Ms. Bradwell, so it's true that you didn't actually see the shooting, correct?
That's correct.
And you didn't see any of the events that led up to the chase, correct?
That's correct.
And you mentioned that there were 3 individuals at the scene when you got there, right?
That's correct.
One was the defendant, Rick Chow,
Correct.
and that was one that shot Cyrus in the back.
I don't know if that's who shot him because I didn't see the shooting occur.
Okay. Did someone tell you that Cyrus shot in the back?
Yes.
Did they tell you who?
Did they tell me who shot Cyrus or that Cyrus was shot?
Either one.
Just object because of the hearsay nature of confrontation, who shot.
Okay. And was one of the 3 individuals the kid Cyrus?
Yes.
Okay, one was Andy?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you talk to Andy on the scene?
When I first arrived, whenever I was asking, do they need help and stuff. But other than that, like I don't know who told me that he was shot. They was just like, he was shot, and like I said, my main focus was Cyrus at the moment, so I don't know which one of them told me that.
Okay, so but you did talk to the younger child?
That's correct.
Okay. And was this when the little boy was still on the ground, laying on the ground?
Yes.
Okay. And had police arrived yet when you talked to Andy?
No.
Okay. When you talked to him before the police arrived, did he ever tell you that the victim pointed a gun at him?
No.
Did he ever tell you the victim pointed a gun at him minutes before that?
No, ma'am.
When they asked you to go help the little boy that was shot on the ground, did Andy ever tell you, be careful when you go over there because the kid just pointed a gun at me and tried to shoot me?
No, ma'am.
No further questions.
Redirect?
Just briefly. Very good. You weren't there as a police officer, correct?
That's correct.
Weren't investigating,
That's correct.
weren't interviewing anybody.
That's correct.
You were just there as actually a concerned citizen.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your
If
time.
he was waving
So-
a gun around, I think I would say, careful, he's got a gun.
Thanks for being here.
Like if somebody came up, I would tell them what just happened.
Take a break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a break. I got a matter of law I need to take care of, and we'll be back with you as quick as we can. You don't stress the case.
What?
Arguments, and it'll be your turn.
Co-counsel as well as Mr. Chow at this point in time to finish choose the rest of the case.
Very good. State gonna have anything in reply?
We do not, Your Honor.
What the defense is trying to do right now is say they tried to save his life. So what? He wouldn't have needed life-saving measures if he hadn't shot him in the back.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like, oh, we didn't watch that one together. The Hannah Gutierrez thing. Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the Rust trial. They kept trying to say that she died. I can't remember her name. The movie Rust, where the armorer somehow put a live round in the gun. They kept trying to say that because they had trouble intubating her, they stat flighted her. And before they took off, they tried to intubate her, where they put the breathing tube down in the helicopter. And I guess they had some problems getting the tube in, which caused some other complications. So the defense kept trying to say that that was really what killed her, not the shot, not the gunshot. But she wouldn't have needed to be intubated if it hadn't been for getting shot. So you can't claim, Helena Hutchins, thank you, Judy. So you can't claim that it was really the first responders that killed her because of the complications with the intubation, because she wouldn't have needed to be intubated if she hadn't been shot. So, you see what I mean? So, you can't say, oh, well, he wasn't trying to murder him because he gave life-saving measures. Well, if he hadn't shot him in the back in the first place, he wouldn't have needed the life-saving measures. I don't know. That might not exactly be apples to apples. That might be apples to oranges. But anyway, I think it's disgusting what they're trying to do right now.
That concludes all the evidence in the case. It is 3:20 on a Friday, and we still have some legal stuff to do. Believe it or not, they probably won't agree on the law that I'm going to have to charge you on, so we're going to have a charge conference that may be rather lengthy, and I'm not going to take a chance of y'all getting this case at 5:30 or 6 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So, I'm going to excuse you for the weekend. Again, don't discuss the case with anyone. Don't discuss it amongst yourselves, your family.
And yet, for 3 decades or 4, calls us, calls prosecutors, I really don't care. You know, we're here to do justice, and that's why we're here now.
Are we waiting on this Courtroom?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Can I read
to you?
We could take up one new matter just so that we're making some progress. And it's a matter I submitted to Solicitor Gibson and to your clerk a moment ago. I don't know that you even had a moment to look at it, but I have. Go ahead. Well, Your Honor, we live in kind of a new time, the era of Murdoch. And when I began practicing law in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we used a time-honored device in high-profile cases, sequestration of the jury. Now, we did not move for sequestration, nor did you choose to do that, Your Honor, and we respect that decision. But at this juncture, Your Honor, this case has garnered so much publicity, so much, I think I can't understate the polarization in this community about this case, and that's for a variety of reasons that I've submitted to you and would ask to make as a court exhibit several pieces of paper. One is simply a photograph that was posted on Instagram, I believe, and it is one of the more tame, I'm told, though I'm not, I don't cruise the internet, certainly not during a trial, but I am told that there are TikTok messages that if there's not a conviction in this case, that the courthouse will burn. I know that that's of concern to everyone. There are, yesterday, the third piece of paper, which is a dark text message, was received by a member of my client's family, and they sent it to me immediately and made no response to it. But it's alarming because it represents the other polar, what I would call the skinhead white supremacist, that lunatic fringe. And, Your Honor, in the middle, as we have said, the narrative in this case, beginning shortly after the incident, it hasn't been helped by the statements of public officials. I've attached that, but it's already a part of your record elsewhere. And then I've highlighted a portion of a news article, which I won't read because I've highlighted it for you, but it suggests that somehow this trial, instead of being a fact-finding mission resulting in a neutral, detached jury's deliberation and determination of guilt or innocence, is somehow a moratorium, and that justice will fail if the event that this journalist seemed to suggest is the result that should be obtained. But, Your Honor, for all of those reasons, we rely on judges' instructions. We hope, we keep our fingers crossed that juries will take that to heart, that they will avoid interference, that they will report it to the court. But we know from the Murdoch case, that just doesn't happen. Now, that case is different because it involved the interference of a court official, one who, as our Supreme Court said in that opinion, was the court's representative. So the jurors could have easily felt, as they did in that case, that it was okay because that was the court's caretaker. But I think that there is the very real potential, given the amount of publicity attendant to this thing, Your Honor, that I would ask the court, though it is inconvenient, it will take 10 minutes, and I would not oppose you, Your Honor, going to the jury room and pulling one at a time out in the hall. I don't know that we even need to be present. I don't know that the prosecution will have a position on this, but I do think it's important not to poll them as a group. I think it merits, in order to assure a fair trial that is free from any taint, interference, suggestion, even to the extent of driving by the state capitol this week, you're likely to have seen a poster. And I don't want jurors to think that they're getting themselves in trouble if they have seen something that may have caused them to think in an inappropriate
Becky,
way.
see
But
what
I
you
do
did?
Ask, Your Honor, with all respect for the time, and the economy of time, but I think it is that important. Thank you.
State position.
Your Honor, I don't think we need to bring any
No,
additional attention
we
to this
don't.
matter, Judge. I mean, the things that Mr. McCullough has brought out, I mean, I appreciate the fact that he brought it to our attention, but we can't control what the outside world does. And I mean, posts by people who are not involved in this case, that we had admonitions that were given, and to our knowledge and what we know is the family's done everything they're supposed to do. They've not posted, they've not engaged, they've not done any of the things that the court has asked them not to do. What the rest of the world does outside of this courtroom is what the rest of the world does. What the rest of the world calls us, calls prosecutors, I really don't care. You know, we're here to do justice, and that's why we're here now. To ask the jury to do something additional now, Judge, if they've got a question, they have the ability to write it down. They got the ability to say, hey, Judge, this did or didn't occur or whatever. And to my knowledge, that's not taking place. So in order to pull them out and start kind of poking and asking, you know, specific questions of them, I just don't think it's proper at this point. We've had other high-profile cases. We've not done it. We didn't do it in the Uber case here. We didn't do it. I mean, it's not been done that I can recollect. I'm not almost 30 years of practice in law. I've not had a case where that's happened, and I don't think that we need to start doing it now. If the jury has a question, they understand your admonitions. These are grown folks who went through the process. They've adhered to everything that you've asked them to do at this point, and there's no need to start pulling them out and searching for something when they're not telling you that anything is going on. I don't think it's proper right now.
Your Honor, I would simply say that, as I mentioned, we sequestered juries for many decades. And we did so at a time when the only access that jurors could have to taint themselves were much less than today. There were 3 TV stations. There was no internet. There was no social media. There were neighbors. And those opportunities were the only opportunities to be tainted by public opinion. And yet, for 3 decades or 4, our courts sequestered juries. To the best of my knowledge, we stopped doing that because of the expense. Okay, I get it. But today, 1,000 television channels, social media platforms that allow the worst and most scurrilous, degrading, disgusting conversations, even to the point of threats of violence, threats of destruction. That is so ubiquitous, Your Honor. And I think, I don't know that I recall making a motion like this, but having gone through the crucible of the Murdoch case, I recognize a couple of things. The frailty of the jury's willingness to come forward. And that's a human nature. It's not a dishonesty on the part of the jury. It's just a belief that it doesn't need to be reported. So I would ask again, Your Honor, while it may be novel, but I think it is necessary. And the mere fact that it hasn't been asked before of you or another judge, whether in this courtroom or another, I don't hesitate or have any embarrassment about asking you to do it now to ensure against the possibility that any juror has contacted or otherwise stumbled in to the receipt of information. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm gonna know your position on that, Mr. Chow. I don't think there's any real procedure for doing that, and I see it as fraught on a number of levels. If I were to go back there and examine each juror individually myself, again, based on what we learned from the court's ruling in Murdoch, I'm hesitant to have any sort of conversation off the record outside the presence of all the lawyers with any juror. So I will deny your motion in that regard. What I am going to say, though, too, is the stuff here that you provided is troubling, although there's been a lot of troubling things all weekend. Lawyers, and I guess I'm more talking to the public here, we just all need to turn the temperature down, much like I cautioned the lawyers Wednesday to turn the temperature down. The public does too. This matter is actually only a matter of life or death with the Carmack Belton family and the Chow family. The rest of the folks don't need to be sending messages like this. to lawyers. I actually got emails myself over the weekend, which reminds me I need to send a sled. Please, folks, just turn the temperature down. There will be a verdict maybe here today, and we're all going to be respectful of one another. And I want to commend everybody who's been in this courtroom for the week, or all last week. Everyone here has been respectful of one another. There have been no issues, there have been no outbursts, and I commend you all on that for being respectful of your neighbor. But we're going to continue to do that, and that's how today's going to play out. So, with that being said, what else? Jury charges.
Yes, Your Honor. I think we just have two quick issues to bring up with regard to what the defense's position is with final charges. We did send an email to the court yesterday afternoon with the one edit and the one addition. First of those would be to add within the element about bringing on the difficulty. Our position is that the language and the court's draft, the cleanest way to make this edit would be at the bottom of 16 going into 17, that if the conduct of the person defended or the defendant was unlawful and of the type which was reasonably calculated to and did provoke a deadly assault, and continuing from there. In support of that language, we're relying on State versus Bryant, 336 South Carolina 340. That's from 1999, and that exact language was reiterated in Slater, and that's 373 South Carolina 66. And the direct quote from those cases is that any act of the accused in violation of law and reasonably calculated to produce the occasion amounts to bringing on the difficulty, and would bar his right to assert self-defense if those conjunctive conditions are met. So that would be the first request that we have. And we also do believe that the evidence adduced over the course of this trial does squarely put the issue of withdrawal in front of the jury, and that is a question that they must decide whether. I don't think it's going to be any surprise that the state will argue that Andy Chow and or Rick Chow were at fault in bringing on this difficulty. With respect to the testimony that we have received over the course of last week, Andy's conduct, his act, the jury could find that act amounts to a withdrawal from any potential difficulty the jury may have found he had brought on. And if that withdrawal is effective, then his right to self-defense, and by extension, Mr. Chow's right to defend him, would be restored. And in support of that withdrawal charge, the language of which is one's right to self-defense is restored after a withdrawal from the initial difficulty with the victim, if that withdrawal is communicated to the victim by word or act. And that or act portion was emphasized, I believe, in State versus McCarty. That's 437 South Carolina 355. And that is also quoting the Bryant case at 336 South Carolina 340. We do believe that the withdrawal law does need to be charged to this jury in light of what's been adduced over the course of last week.
Continue, State.
I just don't recall any testimony regarding any withdrawal. This was one continuous act, John. I don't remember any testimony whatsoever of withdrawal. It was a chase that went 130 yards, and there was some backing up that was testified to, but it was right at that moment. This was a bam-bam kind of situation where it was described.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I did look at all this. As far as the violation of the law language, I'm not going to charge on that. I think the implication of that charge would mean that there would have to be a violation of the law for someone to be not without fault. So I'm not going to put that in there. I am going to add the language of withdrawal, and it is in the final charge. It'll be on page 18 at the bottom. And here's the exact language. And it went a little further than what you asked for, Mr. Copeland, because I think you sort of cut it all short. Here's the exact language. One right to self-defense or defense of others is restored after withdrawal from the initial difficulty with the victim if that withdrawal is communicated to the victim by word or act. Withdrawal from a conflict must be effectively communicated to the victim by word or act to restore the right to use self-defense or defense of other conflict, and communicates his withdrawal by word or act to his adversary.
130 yards.
So it went a little further. Then just, I guess, you pretty much had the first sentence, but the model charge that we have added, that basically it has to be essentially unequivocal that the person defendant is withdrawing. So that's how I'm going to do it. Y'all have been emailed a copy of the final charge as well. Anything else?
Are you intending on, or have you thought about, we're going to send the instructions back with them initially, or just play it by
I
ear?
typically do not, and I will let them know that if they have a question about the law, the procedure for that would be to send me a note, and then I can recharge them on the law. I just get concerned that folks, this is intended to be interpreted as a whole, and I get concerned that folks, one person relies solely on page 17 and nothing else as a whole. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. I know some of my colleagues send the charge back, but that's the way I am. All right, we ready for closing?
Yeah, a little PowerPoint here, it's just going to have some, so it has the thing ready whenever. I know it takes a little time to fire up.
Okay.
You started firing it up.
I think we have it. Will it just turn right on whenever we're ready for the first line?
It hasn't moved until like,
Okay.
yeah.
And as you can tell, the document you gave me, you did one to the court reporter, you marked the court on.
I did not, Your Honor. I just passed it up to you, but I'll be happy to come up and hand it out.
We made this with the court tonight. All right, ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, making sure, please, sir. Yes, sir.
not being read.
Jury seated, Your Honor.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. The parties have presented all the evidence in the case, and it's now time for the attorneys to make their closing arguments. Much like the opening statements, the arguments of the attorneys are not evidence in the case. Their statements are meant to help you understand the evidence and apply the law. You should disregard any remark, statement, or argument which is not supported by the evidence presented during the trial or the law that I'm going to explain to you at the conclusion of the argument. Stay ready to close.
We got it.
May I please court?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is the value of a human life? That's usually posed as a rhetorical question, isn't it? What is the value of a human life? Can we assign a monetary value to a human life, to a human soul? Can we put a price on it like we can a bottle of water, or a bottle of motor oil, or a lampshade, or a fishing boat? Is that possible? Are some lives worth more than others? These are philosophical questions that people have been wondering aloud for ages. Do you remember that feeling of being a teenager? You remember what it was like when your body was new and shiny? Remember that? Remember time before work and bills and all the responsibility, being responsible for other people. You remember that feeling? You remember what it was like having that long road of life just stretched out before you, and all the possibilities. Not knowing what they were, but just being excited for the ride. You remember that? Remember the last day of school? Remember the beginning of summer break, sleeping in, summer jobs, fireflies, fresh peaches? What about grandma's house? Slip and slides? Remember the smell of fresh cut grass? Beach trips, no responsibilities. How do you put a price on that? You remember that? How do you put a value on that? I've got a 15-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son, and they're in that time of life. And if I'm waxing too poetic, it's because I'm envious at times of them, and being in that stage, and just having that whole long road of life stretched out before you, and all the possibilities. Just an adventure waiting to unfurl, right? But if I could jump in a time machine and go back to them being 14 years old, I don't think I would, because I remember the difficulties of that time as well. I remember being 14, and a sad reminder that I'm not anymore is sometimes when I get a glimpse of the camera and I see my face up there, and I say, who the hell is that? Where do those wrinkles come from? Where did that gray hair come from? But I do remember being a 14-year-old boy. And if I could, I don't think I'd go back to being a 14-year-old boy. Because I remember the difficulties of being a 14-year-old boy. I remember the idea of trying to zero in on what is my identity? What is my personality anyway? Who am I? Where do I fit in? How can I be cool? And to this day, I still remember things that I did that made me shake my head, things that I strongly regret, things that were ill-advised, things that were reckless and dangerous, things that were just plain stupid. It was not easy being a 14-year-old boy, and that was back in 1993. But that's what being a kid is. That's what being a 14-year-old boy is, to make mistakes and hopefully to learn from them, right? Isn't that what growing up is supposed to be about? I didn't look much like Cyrus, and I think that's obvious to everybody here. We grew up in different parts of Columbia. We had different experiences. We went to different schools. We grew up under different circumstances, different times. Seems that we were both skinny little 14-year-old boys from divorced parents trying to find our way. I remember trying to straddle that line between being a child and trying to figure out what it meant and where my place was in the world, and trying to figure out how to be a teenager. Trying to figure things out. And as I said, it seems that to me that it would be infinitely more difficult to be a 14-year-old in 2023 than it was in 1993. There are just things that exist now that were unimaginable back then when I was 14. But some of the broader challenges would have been the same. Where do I fit in? How do I fit in? This would have been that wistful time of life for Cyrus in May of 2023. He had just wrapped up 8th grade. We all know what comes next, 9th grade and high school and all the craziness of that. But right now, May of 2023, it's summertime. The first week of summer. What's better than that? How do you put a price on that? It's the best time of the year for a kid. There's still a few months before he has to deal with that crazy time of 9th grade and high school. Sunday, May 28, 2023, it was Memorial Day weekend. Cyrus was fresh off middle school graduation, and it was summertime. Why does a 14-year-old have a gun? This was asked multiple times by my friend, known him since I was 14, Jack Swerling. But he asked that a number of times. And I suppose he asked that as a literal question that deserved an immediate, succinct, distilled, and simple answer. That was how the question was posed. That it is a very simple question and deserves a simple answer. Maybe it's not that simple, though. Maybe it's a much broader question that we as a society will eventually have to sit down and come up with real answers to and possible solutions to. Maybe it's a question with an answer that is so complex, that has so many layers, that is so loaded that maybe it's not something we just figure out in a day. But it does seem, as long as guns have existed, boys have been fascinated by them. Required reading when I was in elementary school was Where the Red Fern Grows. And it was all about Billy and his gun and the exploits and the adventures of 10-year-old Billy and his rifle. Or, my favorite movies back then were Tombstone and Young Guns and Predator and Terminator. Just movies about guns and violence. Boys eat it up. I did. So many movies, so much imagery, so many music videos about guns. It's just, we're in America. It's part of life, and boys eat it up. You can't even get through December without Christmas Story and Ralphie and his fascination with the Red Ryder rifle. Right? It's just a fact of life. And that was all before the internet. But again, we live in America, and to take that one step further, Cyrus and I grew up in the South. And we were blessed to grow up in the South, weren't we? And guns are just a part of life, are they not? A gun leaning up in the corner when I was growing up was about as exciting as a cast iron skillet on the stove or a butcher knife in the sink. It's just part of our life. And whether that's good or bad, I'm not here to talk about that, but guns are prevalent. and
I don't-
boys
I
gravitating
don't like
towards guns,
this.
whether that's good or not. Was Cyrus right in having it?
I don't like this. They never even proved he had a gun. He's leaning into this like he had a gun. That's just our culture. We're from the South. Boy, 14-year-old boys like violent movies. Like this. Oh, I don't like it.
Pistol in his pocket May 28th of 2023? No. Was it legal for Cyrus to have a pistol in his pocket May 28th, 2023? No. Has anybody indicated that it was okay or legal or right? No. Did he deserve to die? Did he deserve to die? I remember my grandfather letting me practice with a little .22 rifle. I remember being 8, shooting a .22 rifle. I remember my first single shot, .410 shotgun. I was probably about 12, 13 when I got that. I remember going up to the little cabinet just off the kitchen in my grandparents' house and finding a little revolver he had there. And I remember taking it down, and I remember going down to the pond and shooting a few shots. I was probably about 12, and I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. And I knew I'd get in trouble if I got caught. That didn't stop me. I remember all those things. Boys do things that are ill-advised and not always smart. That's part of life, though. We hope as we grow older, we learn some of these things, and we grow out of them. Did Cyrus deserve to die? When Cyrus Carmack Belton entered that Shell gas station at 7441 Park Lane Road, about 8 p.m., May 28, 2023, he had no way of knowing that he'd be dead in about 10 minutes. You see him enter the gas station. He is immediately asked to take his book bag off. A very fair request, and he complies immediately. He's not rude during the encounter. He does as he's asked to do. We see Alice check the facial recognition database once he comes in. We heard about the facial recognition database they employ at the Shell gas station. And then she went about her business, or pretended to act busy, while keeping an eye on Cyrus as he walked up and down the aisles. At some point, she ducks her head into the office where Rick is. What, if anything, she said to him is unknown. We don't know. But Alice and Andy continued to watch Cyrus as he walks up and down the aisles. Eventually, he goes to where the water bottles are. He had to know he was being watched, right? I mean, I don't think Alice was making it unknown, or she wasn't really disguising what she was doing. He took 4 bottles of water out, put 4 bottles of water back in. He's caught on camera from several different angles doing so. And cameras do not lie. Cameras do not make mistakes. It would have taken about 17 seconds to watch him at that water cooler if Rick Chow had decided to do that. About 17 seconds at a time. 17 seconds to confirm that he took nothing. The failure of Rick Chow to do this will cost Cyrus his life. Thousands and thousands of dollars of technology at Rick Chow's fingertips, and he chooses to act in anger. Cyrus would be a rising senior if he was still alive. He'd be entering his 12th grade year of high school. If Rick Chow had taken about 17 minutes to review the footage.
What is happening? Are you guys still here? Am I still live? I don't know what's going on. Okay, that's weird.
$130, 21 grams.
That's weird.
Fight
It
or flight?
completely kicked
You've heard
Spike
that term.
out.
It's a physiological reaction, right? It's ingrained in us since, we were cavemen,
Why
I
don't
guess,
you
basically.
look at that piece?
And it
That's
is
right off of my
an
sandwich.
instinct, it's a reaction that occurs in situations where there is a threat. Okay? If Cyrus is a tough guy, right? If Cyrus is a thug, right? If Cyrus is a gunslinger, right? If he is that guy, okay? If he's that guy, now is the time you'd see it. Now's the time he'd pull that pistol out, point it, if he was that guy, right? He's not that guy. He's a child. He doesn't pull out his pistol. He doesn't cuss or disrespect anyone. He collects his backpack and drops his head and he walks out. If he was a fighter, now would be the chance for him to confront anybody. If he ever intended to use the gun, it would have been right here. But this is the moment where cool heads should prevail. Cool reflection should be what happened here. Reflection should have occurred. This is when adults should act like adults. This could have been it.
What are you doing, baby?
He could have walked off.
Nothing wrong with that sandwich.
He would be a kid looking forward to senior year in high school.
He doesn't want me
You have
for some reason.
a mother and a father who would still have their little boy. $1, 114 pounds, 17 seconds, 1 second, 21 grams. An entire lifetime ahead, unknown potential, success, failure, redemption, decisions. We know the decision Rick Chow made. It's etched in time now. It plays back like a bad movie you've seen before. You already know the ending. He did what he did, and that's why we're all here today. Let him go. Just let him go. We don't need to be here today. Let the boy go. What have you got to lose? What is the value of human life? As of May 28, 2023, Rick Chow had owned and operated that gas station for over 10 years. This was not his first day on the job. Why not call 911? It takes 1 second. Andy said so himself. It takes 1 second to call 911. Better yet, why don't we review the videotape? If we think the boy took something, why don't we look at that videotape? Because then we'd realize we don't even need to call 911. He never did anything. We would learn that immediately. All this at your fingertips. Instead, you choose to act in anger.
Marty, how do you know
Choose to
that?
make split-second decisions. And you're dead wrong. For argument's sake there, let's say he had committed the abominable crime of stealing $1 bottle of water. Let's say he did that, okay? Well, you remember the wall of shame?
Oh.
You remember the testament about all the pictures all over the store of various people who had been suspected of shoplifting, and what we do at the Shell gas station is we take their picture because we have all these cameras that we can get all these pictures from, and then we put it up on the wall of shame. And that's what we do. We shame them. But also if they come back in, we can confront them. Why don't we put this little boy's picture up there then? I mean, if he stole water, let's just do that. That would have been a better option, right? Or, we get all these pictures, let's send them into law enforcement. Looking for this guy, and by the way, we know exactly what he was wearing, and by the way, he walked that way down this dead-end road. Shouldn't be too hard for you guys to solve. Anything would have been better than this. He chose to chase down an 8th grader. The boy was so terrified that he ran out of his shoe and continued running. The boy was so terrified, he's losing clothing. He drops his phone. He drops his mother's phone. But he continues running. But wouldn't that have been even another great opportunity for them to stop? Listen, we've scared this little boy so bad he's come out of his shoe. Let's stop the insanity right here. Let's turn around, let's take our butts back to the Shell gas station. What are we even doing anyway? Why are we doing this? But no, they continue tracking him, chasing the boy down. And then he takes that hard fall, hits the ground. What about right then? Wouldn't that have been a good time to be like, we're scaring this boy so bad that he's run out of his shoes, he's lost his cell phone, now he's hurt himself. We've gone too far. We've gone too far. But no. 130 yards, 114 pounds, 390 feet, 1 second, 17 seconds, 21 grams. Why in God's name are 2 grown men, one armed, chasing a child, because that's what he is, 130 yards? Why in God's name? Devontae Bryant, he had to hit the brakes because he didn't want to hit hell come running out in front of him on Springtree. Dead set on catching that boy. He had to put the brakes on. He says he thought it was the police. I said, well, why'd you think that? He said, because one of the guys had a pistol. And they were chasing that boy. I thought that was the police. And so that would have been what Cyrus saw too. He doesn't know why these men are chasing him to begin with, why they're yelling at him. And now he sees one of them has a gun. And he's wondering, why are these people chasing me? What are they going to do to me? And he's running. And Devontae Bryant said he didn't have anything in his hand. Lori Carson pulled up too. Remember her? That's her in that BMW. A grandmother. She recognized immediately Cyrus was a child. She said he looked frightened. He looked scared. He said it looked like he needed help. He said he didn't have anything in his hand. Kennedy, Jasmine Broadwater, they saw him too. He didn't have anything in his hand. All of them had different angles to observe. None of them knew Cyrus. But they were all very clear. The boy had nothing in his hand. He had a backpack over his left shoulder, which you can see in the video, trying to hold his pants up while he ran from these men. But he had nothing in his hand. What does 130 yards look like? Well, it looks like this.
He does see.
It's a long distance. It's too damn long. It's 130 yards too long. 114 pounds, 1 second, $1, 21 grams. Cyrus was shot in his back as he ran away from Rick Chow and Andy Chow.
Watch that later, Marty.
He entered his lower back, just to the right of his backbone. He traveled upwards, you see. It went through his lung, you see. It entered the right ventricle of his heart. He came to rest there. And that trajectory tells us
Why not?
he was trying to get away to the very end, trying to run from danger. He died scared. He died bleeding to death. Rick Chow's face being the last one he saw. He died surrounded by strangers. He died scared on the side of a road in nowhere America. He died young. He died because of Rick Chow. Shot in the back. Today Rick Chow says, well, guys, I had to do it. I had to kill that boy. I had to chase him down and I just had to shoot him. He says his son yelled gun and he had to shoot. And he tells you he was justified in doing it. And he says, well, if you're wondering why I shot and killed a child in the back, it's because of the doctrine of defense of others. That's what he says to you today. And he was dead wrong on May 28, 2023. And he's dead wrong today. Okay. So what is the law of defense of others? There are 4 elements that the state has to disprove one of them, okay? But these are what would get you a charge and find that you would be justified in killing somebody based on the law of defense of others. If any of these are disproven, any one of them are disproven by the state, then he does not get that legal justification for killing. You understand? If you find any of these to not fit for him, he does not get the defense of others. Number 1, okay? I want to be clear. He fails right off the bat. What is the number 1 element of defense of others? The very first one, that he fails miserably. Rick Chow and Andy Chow both must be without fault for bringing on the difficulty. Y'all remember those questions I asked Andy? And by the way, the other thing y'all get to consider is credibility of witnesses. Y'all seen people lie before. Y'all seen people tell half-truths. Y'all seen people waver before in questions they didn't really want to answer. Y'all seen that before in life.
This was such a slam dunk.
Y'all have a chance to sit back there and talk about whether y'all found Andy to be a credible witness or not. But one thing I asked him is, Andy, Cyrus is still alive if y'all stay in the gas station, right? He said, yeah, you're right. But then they decided to ramp it up. They brought this difficulty on, okay? And one of his lawyers said, well, you know, Cyrus would be alive if he didn't have a gun. And I said, you would never have known he had a gun, would you? If you just kept your butt in the shell station. Kept doing the work you were doing. Stay behind the cash register. And Rick, stay back in the, what do you call it, your surveillance room back there. Why don't you just stay back there? Why are we running 130 yards off our property?
In fact, I would even say if he had a gun and he turned around and pulled it out and pointed it at somebody who was chasing him, he was in fear for his life. So him pulling out the gun is him self-defense of himself. Even though he shouldn't have had a gun at 14, they were chasing him.
Even after he loses his shoes and his cell phone, why aren't we just stopping on the property? If we need to see which direction he goes in, well, we see him running up that straight road, and we know it's a dead end, and we got all these pictures of him. Now we got his cell phone, we got his shoe, we got all these pictures of him, we got his clothing, cell phone, shoe. Why do we bring on the difficulty when we don't have to? But right off the bat, defense of others fails. Prong number 1. A grown man with decades of experience chose to turn suspicion into pursuit and pursuit into gunfire. We fail immediately. But if we were to consider going on, he fails all 4 of them. Let me just walk you through it just to be clear. But if any one of them fail, he does not get that defense. But number 2, Rick Chow must be under the belief or have a good faith belief that Andy Chow was in imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury, harm. You saw that a fall, and the after effects of it, it was such a violent fall that it led to those wounds to his shin. He goes face down into the ground, with various witnesses said. And then marker AA right there, that would be the laser pointer, the flashlight we heard so much about. But that is an interesting marker, because you know what that tells us? A couple things really. It tells us where Cyrus fell and hit the ground, but it also, along with those wounds to his leg, shows us how violent of a fall it was. That would be where he hit the ground, and the only way this works is if his gun comes out of his hoodie, hits the ground so violently it dislodges the flashlight, and that's where it came to rest. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a 14-year-old boy and you know you're not supposed to have that gun, and you're being chased by people and it spills out, the very first thing you're going to do is pick it up and continue running, which is exactly what Cyrus Carmack Belton did. He was trying to get away. But as you see right there, that would be where he fell. And we know he continued running because his body's found past those two poles. But what is further up towards where his body came to rest? AB right there is that shell casing. That is approximately where Rick Chow stood when he fired the weapon. So even after we see where Cyrus fell, Rick Chow is still advancing towards him, still moving towards where he ultimately came to die. I don't know how you describe being in fear of this boy and being terrified of him, but even after he falls and you supposedly become aware of a gun that spills out of his pocket, you continue to advance towards him. How do you say now that you were in fear of him? And would a reasonably prudent person have done this? Would a reasonably prudent person have even left the shell station? The answer is no. He fails 2, and he fails 3. So finally, Andy Chow must be shown to have had no other probable way to avoid the danger of death or serious bodily injury than to act the way he did. Okay? I don't understand how you can ever say I'm retreating when you were the one chasing somebody, chasing them off your property, chasing them 130 yards down a road that you don't belong on. How do you then say I was retreating? No, you are advancing. You were the one bringing on this difficulty. You started it and you're the one who continues it. Rick Chow fails all 4 prongs of defense of others, and he fails spectacularly. We only have to prove one. Number 1, he fails right off the bat. I submit to you he fails all 4. This would be a shot by now. You know, we spent a lot of time, I know it's been boring at times, trying to orient you guys with the landscape, but it is important, really, to kind of have a general familiarity with this area we're talking about. But if we're looking at this picture, which is an evidence, y'all seen those poles right there a number of times. That's kind of a good marker. You've seen this drainage ditch right here on the bottom where the backpack was found. That's another good marker. Behind us would be the Shell gas station and Park Lane Road, and forward is just the dead end. This would be approximately where that laser flashlight attachment would be found. And again, that's where reason tells us that Cyrus fell. And the gun apparently hit the ground hard enough to detach the laser flashlight. That's where that was found. A little bit further up again, past where he fell, that means Rick Chow is still advancing past where that boy fell and continues chasing him with his gun. That's where the casing's found, right there, with the green arrow. Behind those trees, there's Bradford Bears right there. That is where we know from the body camera that's where Cyrus comes to rest. That's where he dies. I mean, just on the side of the road, nowhere, South Carolina. Shot on the side of the road like a dog. Surrounded by strangers. Mother not there. Grandma not there. Scared and alone. Murder is, in South Carolina, statutorily defined as the killing of another person with malice aforethought. Okay? But what is malice aforethought? The judge is going to define malice for you. This is malice. You see this right here? Y'all see that? Look at it. This is what malice looks like right here.
He wore the
It's
same
hatred, ill will,
shirt.
or hostility. We know how Rick Chow feels about shoplifting.
Dang, he wore the same shirt.
Okay. He has devoted a large amount of space in his store to advertise shoplifters and identify shoplifters. He doesn't like them. Malice is ill will or hostility towards another person. It's the intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse, and with an intent to inflict an injury under circumstances the law will infer an evil intent. When does malice need to form and when does it need to exist in the mind of Rick Chow? The judge will tell you it does not, malice aforethought does not require that malice exists for any particular time before the act is committed, but it must exist in the mind of the defendant just before and at the time of the shooting. Okay? Therefore, there must be a combination of the evil intent, the prior intent, i.e. chasing a boy up the road with a gun at your side, and the act, shooting. How can malice be shown? There are two types of ways it can be shown. It can be expressed or it can be inferred. They're not different, but just the way they may be shown. Express malice is shown when a person speaks words which express hatred or ill will for another, or when the person prepared beforehand to do the act which was later accomplished. Malice can be inferred from conduct showing a total disregard for human life. This is malice right here. Y'all see malice? This is what malice looks like. Shot to the back tells the story better than any witness ever could. The state must prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the standard of every criminal case from here to Seattle, all across the U.S. The state must prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. What does that mean? Does it mean beyond all doubt? Does the state have to prove a case that leaves everyone saying, I have no doubt about anything anymore? No. It means that if you have a doubt that is reasonable, whether he's guilty or not, do you have a doubt that he's guilty? If you do, is it reasonable? Is it based on logic? If it is, then you should find him not guilty. That's just the law. That's how it's always been. But if your doubt as to whether or not he did what he did is not reasonable, or your doubt is not really logical, you must find him guilty. Does that mean you have to be 100% certain about everything regarding this case? It does not. The judge will tell you there are very few things in this world we know with absolute certainty, and in criminal cases, the law does not require proof that overcomes every possible doubt. He's going to say, based on your consideration of evidence, you are firmly convinced. I put that in bold because to me it's the best way to understand beyond a reasonable doubt. When you go back there and y'all are talking about issues or what you remember about specifics of the case, just ask yourself, are we firmly convinced? Let's all take a poll. Are we firmly convinced of his guilt? And if everybody raises their hand, then you find him guilty. That is how you determine whether or not there's reasonable doubt or whether there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Are we all firmly convinced? Remember those two words. He's going to say it twice when he reads those instructions to you. Firmly convinced. So when y'all get back there and y'all say, what was reasonable doubt again? You say, well, I remember Dale saying firmly convinced. That was what we have to decide. Are we firmly convinced? Cyrus will forever be 14 years old. It'll always be the beginning of summer. Ninth grade in high school, they'll never come. He won't get the chance to catch the eye of a pretty girl. He won't get to feel rejection either. He won't be at the prom with his classmates. He won't have a chance to be cool or to take that winning shot. He won't have the opportunity to be a loser. He'll never get the chance to figure things out. He'll never feel his grandmother's kiss on his forehead. He won't get to drink that beer when he turns 21. He'll never catch snowflakes on his tongue again. He won't get to feel the sun on his face that first warm day of spring. He'll never get to find his way in this world that can be so cruel, but so beautiful. He won't be like this 14-year-old boy and look in the mirror and see these wrinkles and this gray hair that just kind of came out of nowhere and be able to trace them. And think back of the memories and the experiences behind them. He'll forever be 14, alone and scared, running up that road, trying to get somewhere safe, but never making it. And the solicitor, Stephanie, and Weston and I, we walked that stretch of road on Spring Tree a dozen times or more. The air, it just feels heavier. The energy it's off. The tragedy of a life cut short is just burned into the surroundings. I can't explain it. And the question isn't why does a 14-year-old have a gun? It's why is an armed 57-year-old man chasing a boy 130 yards, knowing how scared he is, and then shoot him in the back. You know this is wrong. You know it's wrong. You're dead wrong about that water. And Mr. Chow, Rick Chow, is dead wrong about this. 14, 130 yards, $1, 1 second, 21 grams. In the early 1900s, there was a doctor. He thought he could measure the weight of a human soul. He thought it was possible to determine the physical weight of a human soul. He measured 6 patients just before and then right after death. And in one of them, he found something interesting. One of the patients, he determined there was a difference of 21 grams. And so he determined, based on that experience, that the human soul weighed 21 grams. 1 out of 6, very small sample size, and it wasn't well documented, but still, it became a popular concept that the human soul weighs 21 grams. We know that's silly today in 2026. What does our spirit weigh? Does it weigh 21 grams? No, we know that's silly. Just like we know a human life, there's no value you can put on it. It's worth way more than silver and gold. It's worth way more than this. You know it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a decision to make. I thank you for your time and attention this last week and then today. I thank you. There is only one verdict here that speaks the truth. There is only one verdict that addresses what this man did and what this man took away. One verdict. That verdict is guilty. That's what I ask you to do. Find Rick Chow guilty of unjustly taking Cyrus Carmack Belton's life. Find him guilty. That is the only verdict that speaks the truth and speaks to the evidence in this case. Thank you.
Commissioner? All right, we'll take about a 10-minute break and get the technology and stuff sorted out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with you about 10 minutes. And then don't discuss the case or anything of that nature. We'll see you shortly.
Jury seated, Your Honor.
Thanks, sir. Ready?
Yes. Can I please report?
Yes, sir.
Solicitor. I remember growing up and watching shows with my father. And I'm old enough to date myself a little bit that we would actually listen to radio shows. And one of the radio shows that we would listen to quite often is a guy named Paul Hurley. And what he would do is he would tell stories. And then telling stories, what he would do is tell a story that he thought that everybody actually knew. He would tell a story and he would give details of a story that he thought that everybody actually knew already. And he would tell it, and he would tell it in his interesting way, but what he would do is intentionally leave out parts of the story so that people would be a little confused, because they'd heard the part of the story that they thought that they knew, but he would leave parts out. And then he would take this huge pause after he was done and everybody think it was over, and then he would say this famous line. He would say, "And now it's time for the rest of the story." And then he would spend the rest of the show telling the listener the rest of the story that they did not know. He would do this because he understood people. He understood that we are a generation of people who simply listen to headlines, listen to flashy things, and don't hear the rest of the story. He understood that if he could tell just small parts of the story in the way that people thought that they understood them and didn't hear the rest of the story, then they would believe things one certain way. And the way that he did it was fascinating. It was interesting. People started to understand that that's the way we have to start listening. Because if we only hear part of the story, then we can never get to the truth. And so as we sit here and get ready for our closing argument, all we're going to do now is tell you the rest of the story. I will tell you wholeheartedly this might come across as a shock. I agree with some of the stuff that the state of South Carolina said. When they got done with their closing argument, folks next to me said, "Do you want to take that dollar down?" And I said, "No." Because let me tell you with unabashed honesty, they are 1,000% right about the following statement. If Rick Chow executed a human being over a $1 bottle of water, enjoy hell. Let's make that clear. If Rick Chow shot a man in the back stealing $1 bottle of water from his store, you do what you will. Because there's nothing to justify this back and forth. Was he right? Was he wrong? It doesn't matter. Taking a human life over a bottle of water is absolutely ridiculous. It's wrong under any way that you could possibly look at it. And that's why the state has gone out of their way to put this $1 bottle of water up, to put this picture up, because they want you to believe that this is what this case is about. The rest of the story. It has nothing to do with this water. It doesn't. Because if that was what it was about, this wouldn't be a complicated case. As we sit in front of you, the things that we have to talk about is we have to break down everything that we have watched in this case. And we need to break down what the state of South Carolina has presented to you. And as we break it down, we can break it down inside of 3 classifications of what they've put on the scene. They put on what they call eyewitnesses. They put on investigators. And they put on experts. You remember? Those are the 3 things that they have given us. So first, let's talk about the eyewitnesses. And the reason I want to talk about the eyewitnesses first is, remember, and I wrote down a quote that the state said, "Cameras don't lie." For 17 seconds, you could have played the camera. For 17 minutes, you could have played these cameras. If you remember, these witnesses got on the stand, they sat in front of you, and I asked them questions. They looked directly at you. They were talking about what they remembered. They were talking about their memories and how important that is. And then I started asking them questions from right there. You remember? I said, "No, I'm not trying to be rude, but I remember you talking to 911. Do you remember that?" "Yeah." "And you said something different to the 911 tape that you're saying right there today." I asked another person, "Isn't it true that we don't interview witnesses together because they can get their stories together and their brains could get something that didn't really happen?" "Yeah." "And that's on video, correct?" Cameras don't lie. "And they called 911, and in the 911 call, they said they didn't see anything, correct?" Cameras don't lie. "But don't you remember," and I asked one of the witnesses, "isn't it true that you told them something and they said that was completely impossible?" "Well, yeah." "And then they've met with you, they've talked to you, they've interviewed you and put you on the stand and you told something different." Cameras don't lie. So why are we sitting here and not watching those videos? Why didn't the state give you the 911 calls? Why didn't they give you the videos? Why didn't they give you the information? If cameras don't lie. The rest of the story. I talked to one of the investigators and officers as he took the stand. Remember, we asked him, what is important as an investigator? It's important to get the facts, it's important to get the information, it's important to get the evidence as close to the incident as possible. So we can do what? Remember the question I asked him? So we can give all the information to the jury. The rest of the story. Because what we don't want to do is subject and put our emotions in there, our personal beliefs, our subjective decisions. That's what's happened. The rest of the story. But for some reason, the state of South Carolina doesn't want to give it to you. One of the witnesses took the stand, if you remember correctly, Detective English took the stand. You remember? One of the first ones they put on. And they put the videos up on all of these screens, all this technology that the state of South Carolina has. And they put up all of it. And one of the clips they put up was of Rick Chow's statement. You remember? And they played it, and it said, "My son saw, I didn't initially see my son that he had a gun, so when I looked at his hand," and then what did that officer do? He just walked away. We knew there was a second part of the video. Cameras don't lie. It would have taken how long was the quote? 17 seconds to play it. Cameras don't lie. And what was the next question from the state of South Carolina? Isn't it true he didn't tell you on that scene blank? Cameras don't lie. So we literally had to make sure you knew the rest of the story. And what did we do to tell you the rest of the story? We brought that other officer on to tell the rest of the story. And you remember, it went right together. The rest of that statement. "My son saw, I didn't see it initially. My son alerted me that he had a gun. So when I'm going to go talk to his son," that's when he walked away. And then the statement kept going. Look at his hand. He actually had a handgun in his hand. The rest of the story. He got up running, then my son yelled, he's got a gun. So when I watched, there was a gun in his hand. That would be some important information for the state of South Carolina to tell you. But they need it to be about $1. They need to scare you. They need to make you afraid. They made you think the great Rick Chow, this evil human being over here, killed a man over $1. And that is disgusting, that is awful, that is abhorrent, but that's not what happened. The rest of the story. We don't want to tell you the rest of the story because if you hear it, then you get to make an intelligent decision, and we don't want you to make an intelligent decision. We don't want you to hear the 911 calls. We don't want you to watch the videos. We don't want you to hear what Rick said at that moment, at that time, without a lawyer, without anyone telling him what to say or do. We had to play those for you. The rest of the story. And as we get in there and we listen to this and we go through all of this information, it becomes incredibly important. We then had investigators take the stand. You remember the questions I asked of the investigators and why they were so important. The state of South Carolina, for you to make a decision, has come in front of you and said, put witnesses on the stand. Guns aren't that bad. 14-year-old kids have guns all the time. And they had witnesses literally with their hands on the Bible looking at you, talking about, guns are prevalent, it's not that big of a deal. That was the testimony. I didn't make that up. That was the testimony that they submitted. Do I think they believe any part of that? Not a line of that. But they have emotion. They're upset. And they want you to believe it's about a bottle of water. It's not. The rest of the story. And then there was an expert who took the stand. You remember? I asked her a very directly question. I had her sit right here. She stood in front of you as if she was Rick Chow. And I showed her what we said Mr. Belton could have been doing. And what did she say? Yeah, that's possible. The rest of the story. She described the bullet path. Back to front, right to left, slightly upward. The rest of the story. We got to avoid all of that because that changes our narrative. So now we go into what they did present. Now let's talk about the part of the case that we're all wondering about, the thing that everybody's there, and if it's in your gut, it should be in everybody's gut. And they spent their entire case. Their case was a day and a half, and most of it they spent it on one part. The chase. The chase. The chase. They shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. You remember one of the witnesses, the investigator, got on the stand, and I had to ask him the question, is there anything illegal about that? No, sir. But that's what they're talking about. Well, common sense. We don't want you to do it. But it's not illegal. That's an important distinction to know. This is a store. The testimony was they've owned it for 11 years. Margins are small. You've seen the wall of shame. People have shoplifted. People have stolen. Chased them. I've been stolen from. I chased the people to Georgia, flat out. It's their property. They're emotional about it. And that's why he ran after it. The question isn't, do you think it's right? The question is it legal? And then you go to the second part of it, is it legal? If it was illegal, don't you remember Andy Chow sat up there on the stand? And Mr. Scott got right in his face, and he was yelling at him, and he was going angry with him, and he was saying everything to him. But the one thing he didn't say to him is, and you have been charged with following this young man out of the store. And you are criminally liable for following this young man out of the store. Because he's not. He's not liable. He's not criminally liable. He has not been charged. And he did not do anything wrong. But when you Monday morning quarterback and come back and look at the situation and say, well, why? You know what? They could have done this. They could have done this. They could have done this. Because that's what the state's case is. Think about it. How many times did you hear throughout the course of this trial the great state of South Carolina say the following sentence? They could have done this. 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 They don't have evidence to offer, but they have fear, passion, emotion, and they want to get that out of you. They want that fear, passion, and emotion, and for you to ignore the law. We do not get to take the law the way that we want it to be. We take the law the way that it is. Let me say that again. We don't get to take the way that we want it to be. The solicitor can't say, well, I want it to be illegal for a shopkeeper to go out of the store. Shopkeepers should not be able to follow somebody. That's what I want. Andy, that's what I want. That's not the law. And then there's one last part that he, for some reason, has ignored. Let's say one of you, just one of you for argument's sake, are sitting back there and you say, you know what? I think they are at fault in bringing on the difficulty. It may not be legal, it may not be illegal, but I just don't like the fact that they follow him for 130 yards. I do not like the 130 yards. I do not like the 130 yards. Well, the judge is going to charge you on something on the law, and it's called withdrawal. Let me explain that concept to you. Let's say one of you start a fight. Let's say I start a fight with Mr. Scott. And let's say I go up to him and I say, I'm going to get you. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to hurt you. And I start the fight and I come at him. And I'm about to hurt him. And then all of a sudden I said, you know what? This is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. And I turn around and I'm like, I'm over this. And Mr. Scott brings a knife and comes out. Well, according to their theory, I got to let him stab me. According to their theory, I got to let him hurt me, even though that I have withdrawn. Well, that is the law of withdrawal. If an individual says, if they withdraw by words or actions, their right to self-defense is back on the line. The rest of the story. And don't take my word for it, the judge is going to instruct you on the law, and that's one of the things he's going to talk about. So when we talk about the chase, when we talk about why did they run out of the store, when we talk about they shouldn't have gone out of the store, as I told you, you legally have a right. The officer, their own witnesses told you, they legally have a right. This officer with 25 years of experience, dealt with shopping, dealt with this, and says, we prefer you not, common sense. But then there's a last part of that wasn't on their little pretty board, the right to withdraw. When Andy Chow testified, when he told you what happened, he said, I was following. I was running after him. He fell. When he got up, he had this gun, and then I went this way. And as his hands were up, remember I asked him directly, the gun was still pointed at you? Yes, sir. You were looking directly at the barrel? Yes, sir. And then what did you hear? I said to my dad, he's got a gun. He's got a gun. And then what did he say his dad said? Drop it. Stop. Drop it. No. There's nothing more withdrawal than that. When he is yelling, stop it. Drop. No. That's a withdrawal. That's saying, look, man, you got it. You got the gun. I'm good. They love to say that everything could have stopped. He could have put the gun down. But we have to ignore that because that's not part of their story. We cannot tell that part of the story because it's not necessary. And when we tell this story, you might look at me and say, oh, Mr. Kent, that's some creative lawyering. No. That's why we played the 911 tape. And in the 911 tape, you heard. That's why we played Andy Chow's interviews. Didn't hide it. What do you say? Takes only 17 seconds. What was the other quote? Better than any eyewitness ever could would have been a video. That's what the state said. Better than any eyewitness ever could. So why wouldn't you play him? Because it would have been better than any eyewitness ever could. Now let's talk about the fact we talked about the store and the things that happen inside of the store. And there might be questions, why did you guys keep bringing these things up? If you remember, I had the officer on the stand. Great officer, great investigator, great person. But I had him on the stand, and I was talking about firearms and 14-year-olds, and he went back and forth because I don't think they wanted to admit that this is a problem. But the thing that was the most important is I asked him about suspicious behavior. Did something look weird to you when you went back? And he didn't want to admit it. But use your own common sense on that. I asked him the direct question, looking back through your investigation, as you have gone through and looked at the full file and looked at everything now, do you find it weird, odd, suspicious that a young man would go into a gas station without any money, with an empty book bag, bullet in the chamber, and then was looking like he was taking stuff off of the counter? I don't find that suspicious.
I find that answer suspicious. The reason we brought this up is not to suggest I don't know what Cyrus was doing. I don't. But use your common sense and ask yourself, that does seem strange. And the reason we bring that up is that would explain why Andy, who was sitting at the front counter, looking back, is watching this and going, he's acting strange. He's acting weird. He's putting water back up, water back up, water back up. It looked weird to me. And then he came up to the counter with his hands in his hoodie, and there looked to be something heavy in there. I didn't know what it was, and so I asked him, and he did this, and it looked like there was something heavy in there. It was the gun! Did Andy know it was a gun? Absolutely not. But you can understand why Andy would have said there's something strange going on. His behavior, something in a pocket, going weird with the water, that's what was strange. So that is to explain why Andy made the unilateral decision that there was something strange going on here. And then Andy made the decision to follow him out of the store, chase him, run after him, whatever you want to call it, but he made that decision based upon a reasonable belief of what anybody would have thought something strange here. I asked the officer, again, about the suspicious behavior. That 24 hours, less than 24 hours before he came into the store, he posted this on his social media. Do you remember? I asked him about it. And not only was it this was a clip from a video in which he was pointing a gun at a screen with a laser and a flashing light on his Instagram story. You put all that together, you can explain that someone's behavior would have been a little strange. And he would have had that firearm with the light on it. It makes sense. And so that explains why Andy, and don't forget, when the officer was talking and asking questions and he went back to the back to look at that video surveillance that they keep talking about. Do you remember how many times? He's like, I had to look at it 2-3 times. I had to zoom in on it. He had the technology to see what was taken. Andy had one time. And from his vantage point, something was going on. And so he followed him out the store. He ran after the store, whatever you want to call it. The rest of the story. And then Andy testified that he threw stuff out of his pocket. Remember, Mr. Scott said, you did not testify to that. I had to show 4 different times where Andy said he was throwing something out of his pockets. 4. And so he went after him. He followed him. He chased him. He's going after him the entire way. And they're right. He fell. He fell hard. And now they're saying, well, he would have naturally picked up his gun. That's why this is important. He's running. Or let's put it this way. Let's try 2. 1, he's running and it's in his pouch. He falls. The light goes off, but the gun stays in the pouch, I guess. Or the gun comes out, I guess. I don't know. But he picks it up. And that's what they just testified to. He picked it up. The judge is going to tell you something else about defense of others. You have the right to act on appearances. And you have the right to be wrong. He's going to tell you that. They just told you. He was running, he fell down, and he picked up a firearm. All this stuff, all this back and forth, he 100% from the state's mouth, he picked up that firearm. You have a right to be wrong. You have a right to act on appearances. And that's what the judge is going to tell you the law is. And that's from the state. I want you to think about that again. Gets up. Medical examiner. Shot. Back. Angle. Pointed. Right to act on appearances. Rest of the story. Or take it another situation. What makes sense? Maybe the light's on the fire. And then as he's running, when he falls, that's when it comes off. We don't know. Because the burden of proof is on the state to prove what happened in that situation. And they've just admitted the one thing we know for a fact is he picked up the firearm. That's from them, not from me. That was their admission. And then as he picks up the firearm, then we have to go with Andy's testimony. And he's right. If you don't believe what Andy says, if you think Andy is 100% a liar, you can stop right now. Andy's lying. He made it up. This is completely not true. The gun was never pointed at him. He never saw this silver barrel that he only would have seen after he saw Discovery. He never saw it. And then let's take that one step further. Not only that you must believe that he is a liar, you must believe that Rick Chow is the most creative, smartest person in the history of the world. He is clairvoyant, if you will. Let's give him an Oscar. Rick Chow was able to decide, you know what, I'm going to kill this boy. I need to figure out when he's going to come into the store, when he's going to have a gun, when it's going to be in his pouch. I need to make sure that Andy sees it. And then I need to make sure Andy follows him for the direction. So I need to make sure Andy calls 911 and says exactly what I want him to say. I need to make sure Andy says the exact thing that I'm going to say at the exact time. Because that's what it would be necessary to believe the state of South Carolina's case today. That Rick Chow set all this up in motion to execute a shoplifter. The people he decides, needs, has to help him make a living. It doesn't make any sense. And if we take this one step further from the state's theory, Rick Chow is so pissed off, so damn angry about this shoplifter, hates him so much that he executes him. Why not shoot him when he gets out of the store? Gun's already on his hip. Why not walk out of the store? Shoplifter, $1, he stole, shot. Shoplifter, 10 yards, shot. Shoplifter, 20 yards, shot. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Why wait 130? Unless something changed. What changed was somebody pulling a gun and pointing it directly at his son. That's what changed. If he wanted to execute Cyrus, he could have done it right outside of that store. But we have to ignore that because that would be part of the rest of the story. Use your common sense and listen to the evidence, but listen to the witnesses and listen to what they have told you. Murder, as the state has told you, is the intentional killing of another human being with malice aforethought, without self-defense. We have just showed you self-defense and defense of others. The state has melded a little bit of those theories together, but you need to make sure that you understand. One, without fault and bringing on the difficulty. Again, I've explained to you that you have a legal right to follow somebody. Whether they like what the law is, that's what it is. And as you're going through that, then you have to talk about imminent danger. And this is from the eyes of Andy. And they're trying to mix the two of the things together, but it's under the eyes of Andy at this point. As Andy, does he have a fear of imminent danger? Was a gun pointed at Andy? Would Andy, who had withdrawn from the conflict, you got it, I'm over this? No. Would Andy have had a right to point the firearm and save his own life? Reasonable person. A reasonable person in the same situation, what would they have done? And we can take that two ways if we want to argue the state's theory. Way one, Andy, gun pointed at you. Would he have had a right, as he was saying, remember that knife in the back situation? Andy would have had a right to fire to save his own life. But more importantly, the reasonable person's situation, Rick Chow would have had a right, and did have a right, to save his son. The strongest evidence that was given in entire this case when the officer got on the stand and I asked him that question. And I said, have you ever fired your firearm? No. Have you had a firearm pointed at you? Yes. I didn't fire. What if someone was pointing at your loved one? Yeah. I asked that same officer the situation when officers are chasing somebody and you chase them incorrectly. Remember we asked them that question. You chase somebody incorrectly, what happens? We chase them incorrectly, it does happen. And what would happen if that individual pointed a firearm at you? Remember the example he gave? If someone pointed a firearm as I'm chasing them incorrectly, well, I would tell, and they turned around and pointed a firearm at me, I would tell them, stop, drop it. And if they did not drop it, I would fire. It sounds eerily familiar to this case. And that's some of the rest of the story that the state of South Carolina, for some reason, has chosen not to tell us today. And then we go Duty to retreat, or can you retreat? As a person is pointing a firearm at you and you're pulling backwards and someone is saying, stop, no, don't. That's what duty to retreat is. No one turns and runs. The judge is going to tell you, as I mentioned, if we're talking about self-defense, and I've said it several times, you have a right to act on appearances, and you have a right to be wrong. So as we sit here and we're in Rick Chow's position, and we're wondering what Rick Chow is doing, as we've heard this testimony, Rick Chow sees a gun pointed at his son. His son says, as you heard, I was afraid, I was terrified. He's got a gun, he's got a gun. So Rick Chow in that situation stands in the place of his son. This case is not about a dollar. This case is not about a shoplifter. This case is about a father who sees a gun pointed at his son and had to make a decision. I hate it. I do. I hate that a young man lost his life. I disagree with the state's theory on it's not that big of a deal that kids are going around with guns. I hate it. It is a problem. And it is a problem in this case. I hate that we have sat here and tried to make this about something that's not. I've listened to the state of South Carolina's opening statement talk about Cyrus's age, his future, and I understand all of that. I do. The one thing that does not know Cyrus's age is that gun. The gun doesn't know how old it is. When a gun is pointed at somebody, you have an option. As we sit here and talk about this case and how important the details are, that if you step back and look at something one way, it's completely different. And as you get closer and you look at it more and you look at all of the details, you'll never see it differently again. And so what I'm asking you to do is focus on the details. I wear this suit all the time in trials. People say, oh, you always dress so flashy, but you're not flashy. I wear this suit all the time because it reminds me that details are the most important thing that can happen. In fact, it has my name and the pinstripes in it, because when you look at it, after realizing it's not just a pinstriped suit, it actually has my name just right down the middle. And I look at it and it reminds me in cases that if you don't take your step back and look at things in full detail, you will miss it, like the state of South Carolina has, and they want you to miss it. We have to focus on important matters. We have to see the full story. You have to ask yourself the question, why don't they want me to know the full story? And then finally, for the state's case to make any sense whatsoever, we have to go back to our withdrawal situation. For the state's case to make any sense whatsoever, you must be comfortable with their theory in that Andy Chow is in the store. Andy Chow runs out of that store. Andy Chow runs out of that store after Cyrus. And as he's running out after the person he thinks is shoplifted him, Cyrus still points the firearm. Andy still has his hands up. His dad is still watching. His dad says, no, I'm not going to do anything. And Cyrus shoots and kills his son. The state wants us to believe that that's legal, and that's okay. That storekeeper should let people take stuff out of their store, and if you follow them and you get killed, it's okay. It's not. Now, you know the rest of the story.
Anything in reply to the state?
Yes, Your Honor, of course, the note is fine. Move the couple things around.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please, Coach Chow.
Yes, sir.
Counsel. Mr. Kent spoke to you guys, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for a moment or two. And he talked about Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Sounds a lot to me like this was the rest of Mr. Kent's story. Because many of the things that he said were things that he said, but the actual eyewitnesses never said. It reminds me of when I was a kid, a couple of years maybe before Mr. Kent, but a whole lot of years after Mr. McCullough and Mr. Swirling. We used to, as kids, go down to Augusta, Georgia. My grandmother was from a small town called Trenton, South Carolina. It's in Edgefield County. And way before I was born, probably when I was still a twinkle in my parents' eye, she moved down there because there were just better opportunities to work. And so as I'm growing up in the early 70s, early 80s, my folks would drop me and my brother off down there, and we'd hang out with my grandmother for a week. And back then, when you went to your grandmother's house, you couldn't stay inside and play video games all day because they didn't have them. So we had to go outside. We had to find ways to busy ourselves. We had to do things outside so we didn't break anything inside and get in trouble. So what we'd end up doing is my brother and I would go outside and we'd start throwing the football around for a little while. We'd toss the baseball around for a little while. Then we would start running around her house because my brother was older, so I tried to catch him. So we'd try to run around and see if I got any faster than he. At some point in time after lunch, we would make our way to this makeshift barber shop that my grandfather had built on the side of the house. And we'd sit down and we'd listen to the old man playing checkers, trying to pick up on some words we probably shouldn't have been hearing. We'd hear him slapping the checkers on the board saying "king me" and all that kind of stuff. And we'd be learning some old man stories as kids. It was fun. We'd sneak into a little side of the barber shop and try to get his red man chew. And the joke was we'd try to put a little piece in our mouth and try to hold it in there as long as you could before it burned a hole in your mouth. Or we try to hold it in there and try to see who could hold it the longest before you started gagging. This mischievous stuff that kids do. That's what we did. But at the end of the day, every evening, my brother and I would end up on the front porch. And my grandmother had a set of rocking chairs out there. And we would sit in those rocking chairs and start playing what I call rocking chair games. The first game, we'd sit down and then we'd try to see who could rock the fastest. I'm sure some of y'all have done this. Then we try to see who could rock the fastest and the farthest with your legs in the air. It's good ab work if you ever need to do it. We're trying to go back and forth and see how fast you can go with your legs in the air. And inevitably, the last thing that my brother Chris and I would do is we'd sit down and we'd rock the chair as far back as you could go without it falling over. And we'd do that. And we did that over and over and over. One evening, my grandmother came outside and she saw us standing those rocking chairs up on edge. And we knew we were in trouble. Again, this is the 70s, early 80s. This is the day of knockouts, not timeouts. We knew we were about to get in trouble. But my grandmother said something to me that stuck with me and it still rings in my head today. She said, the funny thing about rocking chairs is that they'll keep you busy, but in the end, they don't get you anywhere. The funny thing about rocking chairs is that they keep you busy, but in the end, they don't get you anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Kent, Mr. Swirling, Mr. McCullough, and that team over there has kept you busy with all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, the question still remains, what is the value of a human life? They have kept you busy with these insinuations that Cyrus was some young thug, some thug in training, running around Columbia, their words, with a loaded pistol, an empty backpack, and no money. Their words. They have kept you busy with this insinuation that this case has to be about and is only about, and is mostly about, a 14-year-old carrying a gun. We keep talking about why do 14-year-olds have guns? Why do children carry guns? And folks, let's be abundantly clear. Cyrus should not have had a gun. Period. No question. Nobody at the state stable has suggested that he should have. So let's put that aside for a second as we talk about what this case is really about. Because he shouldn't have had a gun, no question. Question, are we still having this conversation if Cyrus is 24 years old? If he's 20 years old? If he's 34 years old, 44 years old? Are we having this conversation? Somebody wrongfully accused of stealing, chased out of the store after they tried to de-escalate everything that they could, running, falling down, running out of your chute, tripping, dropping phones, running farther, falling, busting your shin, gun spills out, you're still running. And according to the testimony that you heard from this chair, grown man, Andy Chow, state championship swimmer, 185 pounds, 200 pounds, about 85 pounds more than Cyrus, was right on top of him when he fell. And Dad was close by, in arm's distance. That's what the testimony was. Not this, all this stuff. He was right on top of him. Question, as you listen to the elements of self-defense, not bringing on the difficulty, who would have had a claim of self-defense?
I love it. That's perfect.
Cyrus?
That's exactly what happened.
Being chased by two men, armed with a gun, on top of you after you've run 130 yards? Folks, I submit to you, as I'm walking from that tip back here, you get to the end of this court, that's 20 yards, 19 yards. Times 5, plus 30 more yards. That's how far he was chased. So who would have had a self-defense claim? So I'm suggesting to you that they keep insinuating these things, saying these things, because they don't want you to think about it. Again, I mentioned to you this to you multiple times. When you parked your cars, you didn't leave your common sense in the parking lot. Take it with you. Think about these things. Don't let them sway you with all of this mess and all this other stuff that takes us off of what the real issue in this case is. Don't let them do it. The defense kept weaving this narrative, again, that Cyrus is some young thug walking around the streets of Columbia, again with a loaded pistol, no money, and an empty backpack. I submit to you that, folks, if Cyrus was this thug that they keep telling you that he was, by showing you pictures and trying to get you thinking in that direction, we never would have gotten 130 yards down the road. He would have held court right at 7441 Park Lane Road. Cyrus would have been the judge, the jury, and the presenter of the sentence right there in that spot, if he was the thug that table wants you to believe that he was. But instead, what were his actions? Folks, he ran. He ran like a child. He ran from the adult. Let's think about who acted like the thug, the gangster. The person who chased him down the street, or the person who ran while he had a gun hidden. He ran out of his chute. How do we know that to be true? Because we see it on camera. Shoe flies up in the air, and he keeps running. Doesn't stop. Turn around. Oh, I dropped my shoe. Let me get that, because I'm going to get in trouble if I go home with one shoe. He didn't do that. How afraid do you have to be to run out of your shoe and not turn around to pick it up? Ponder on that for a minute. He ran further. Phones fell out. They keep coming to you with this mess that, oh, he threw his cell phones out. What sense does that make? Did you leave your common sense in the parking lot, or did you bring it with you? How afraid do you have to be to drop 2 cell phones and keep running? Again, let's be very logical about this for a minute. 2 cell phones. We know how expensive they are. One cell phone belongs to you, and the other belongs to your mother. Do you mean to tell me that you are going to go home that day with one shoe and tell your mother, Mama, I lost my cell phone and yours too, and I didn't turn around to get it? You want that smoke? Do you really want to get what you would get if you lost 2 cell phones from your mother? But you know why he didn't turn around? Because he was scared. Because that man, armed with a .45 caliber pistol, and his son were chasing him for no reason. Down a road in South Carolina. Chasing him. Didn't turn around. Kept running further. Fell again. Hard. Dropped the backpack. And by the way, since they want to keep saying it was empty, he actually had some personal effects in it. There was an address in the backpack. Really? Fell. Dropped the backpack. Didn't stop and say, oh, stop guys. Let me go get my backpack. Let me go get the phones. Let me go get the shoe. Kept running away from them. Is that a thug? That's a kid who was scared of 2 grown men, running as fast as he could, as far as he could, trying to get home. But they wouldn't allow it. They would not. For some reason, they could not allow it. And then, at some point, as he fell, hit the ground, that gun comes out, that tack light comes out. Now, I'll suggest to you, as Mr. Kent talked, he keeps saying, well, he was picking up the gun and he was pointing the gun, all that kind of stuff. Stop, just stop. Because what we say is not evidence. I told you before, the evidences would come from this witness jury. There were 4 eyewitnesses who were not named Chow. Which one of them ever said they saw Cyrus Carmack Belton point a gun? Which one? Which one? No. 4 of them. 3 different vantage points. Lori Carson, Kennedy Carson, mom and daughter. They told you they watched and they saw a straight line of what happened. Cyrus ran, fell, hit the ground, got up running, and that's when he was shot. Asked multiple times, well, did he turn at them? Did he point at them? Did he do anything? No. We never saw anything in Cyrus's hands. 2 witnesses, mom and daughter, vantage point at the front of the store. Didn't see any of that. Any of that. Devontae Bryant, driving, white Honda, threw on brakes so he wouldn't run over anybody as they ran in front chasing Cyrus. Asked as he rode by, did you see him point anything? Cyrus Carmack Belton point, stop and point. No, he didn't. He didn't have anything in his hands. The book bag fell. He was flat. He fell hard. His hands were on the ground. He got up trying to run, and that's when he was started stumbling again and got shot. Again, trajectory. Here, upwards, to the left, making perfect sense that he's running away. Not pointing, like the defense wants you to believe. Remember the multiple times they tried to see with Dr. Durso, well, was he doing this and was he snaking and popping and locking? No, none of that was ever said. He was running, and when they tried to do that, he said, no, it's more consistent with the shooter being directly behind him. Folks, if he was turned in the direction that they want to believe, his spine would have been severed by that bullet. Common sense. You didn't leave your common sense in the parking lot when you parked today. You brought it with you. That again is why we went through that process. Some of you may think it was painstaking last week to sit you as jurors. Because we wanted you to take the facts of this case. Not Paul Harvey, not Steve Harvey, not some other Harvey, but the facts of this case that came from this witness chair. Not some stuff that's speculated or what we can kind of come up here and start trying to come up with about moonwalking backwards and all this kind of stuff. But none of that. The evidence that came from this chair. Did you hear it? Another witness. Jasmine Broadway. Another vantage point. They're running directly to her. Did she say she ever saw a gun in Cyrus's hands? No. Did she ever say she saw Cyrus point? No. Nobody with the last name that's not Chow says that ever happened. And interestingly enough, you saw in the video, after the shooting took place, who was walking around? Rick Chow. The officer had to tell him multiple times, stand still, don't touch evidence. I'm gonna charge you with obstruction, you keep messing around now. Move the gun, by the way. He and his family went to the store, came back, had plenty of time to talk about what they were gonna say. Plenty. But at the end of the day, when Andy sat up here, there was nobody to protect him from cross-examination. Nobody. Nobody to protect him. There was conversation about a barrel. Andy says, I saw a silver barrel. Folks, I submit to you, there is a gun lock on here. This is not the condition of the gun. You'll see it on that video. The condition of the gun was this. That's a black barrel, right? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we talk about credibility and believability. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. One other thing that the esteemed cable said is that Cyrus Carmack Belton, again, wandering the streets with a loaded pistol, empty book bag, no money. Now, I'll take this on myself because at the end of the day, I'm the boss. And I'm the person who at the end of the day gets the opportunity to say, hey, we need to bring this witness to that witness. So y'all blame me for this one. This is my fault. I will say this, it's my fault. Maybe we should have brought in another expert. Maybe a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old who can talk to us about the intricacies of cell phones. My gosh, maybe they could tell you that if you hit the right click button on an app.
Yes, sure.
Did he just object?
$2026, even back in 2023, you did not have to have cash in order to buy stuff. You can pay on the phone. Maybe that should be an expert that we call next time, since they made such a big stink about those things. Folks, Andy was an interesting person on the stand. And I'm sure that it's tough to have to sit in that situation and recall what was said and what wasn't said and what you thought about in those moments. But it was interesting to me that under direct examination, that testimony flowed. It was quick. Everything that he said was perfect. Just came out like water. But then on cross-examination, and y'all had a chance to watch from your vantage point, that's the word of the week, vantage point. Every time he was asked a question on the cross-examination that wasn't pleasant, that actually required some type of thought process that may not go exactly how he rehearsed his testimony, eyes. To the point to where he said, well, my counsel said I couldn't. We don't want to know what your counsel told you. But every time a hard question came, his eyes went from here to there. Folks, I was taught a long time ago, when you lie, you got to remember what you said, right? And if you lie about the small things, then you can't be trusted with the big things, to tell the truth about the big things. So think about that for a minute, because when we talked to Andy, there was a back and forth about simple stuff, like through versus dropped, right? Like pulled versus pointed, which again, no witnesses not named Chow ever said the word pointed. Like chase versus follow. Why are we having conversations about chase versus follow when you saw how fast they were going after him? Folks, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but to me, running after requires you to be going after something for a purpose. Example, there's a kid, ice cream truck passes by the house, ding, 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 you miss it. You will go out the house and you run after the ice cream truck. Why? Because you want to catch it so you can get some ice cream. Simple. Or sitting, you wake up a little bit late for school and you hear the bus go by. You're missing the bus. You run after the bus. Why? So you can catch the bus and get on and get to school. Or maybe more recently, flying from Columbia to North Dakota. And there's a flight, the first leg takes you to Charlotte, second leg takes you to Minneapolis. You get to Concourse A, your flight takes off in 28 minutes. What you gonna do? You're gonna run to Concourse C to catch the flight. Why? Because you don't want it to leak. You run with the purpose to catch. Folks, I ran after my wife for 2 years and I caught her. But do you think when I caught her, I said, hey, I want to give you directions about how to get to that dude so he can tell somebody else about something. Come on, folks. When you parked your car, you didn't leave your common sense. They ran to catch. At the end of the day, what happened here is simple, and they don't want to admit it because it hurts. They ran after Cyrus emotionally. They were irritated. They were mad for whatever reason. They ran after him. They caught him. They caught up to him because he fell multiple times. They wanted to shake him down and get that bottle of water and then figure out what to do with the police later. That's why they ran. That's the simple truth. That's the simple truth. That gun spilled out. And then that man made a rash decision. He overreacted. Andy saw the gun. He said gun, and he shot him. There wasn't all this time to back up. No witnesses even say that he even backed up. They said they were advancing the entire time. Folks, don't let the defense rewrite the facts because the things they talked about didn't happen that way. They didn't happen that way. For over an hour, Andy sat on that stand and he said a lot of things. He said a lot of things. But did you ever hear the two words? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I wrongfully accused this kid of stealing and chased him down the road. You know why? You didn't hear that? Because he's not. This is about product over people. This is about inventory. This is not about a person's life. Mr. Kent spoke about withdrawal. And he keeps trying to suggest that Andy Chow withdrew by doing this and coming backwards all this way and saying, hey, stop, hey, Dad, you gotta go. Nobody testifies that that happened. He doesn't have the last name of Chow. 4 people who don't know one another, who had to be subpoenaed to come to this court, spoke to you, and they never said that it happened, because it didn't happen. He did not withdraw. They kept going forward. They kept going forward. And ultimately, this gun was never pointed. But folks, I suggest to you, even if it was pointed, he was running in the opposite direction. Opposite direction. That's what the evidence shows by the way he was shot. It was in the opposite direction, trying to get away. I'll say this. It's offensive to hear the defense keep trying to characterize Cyrus as this young thug. But it's equally offensive to then try to characterize Andy Chow as Mr. Rogers. Excuse me, Rick Chow, the defendant in this case, is Mr. Rogers. You know, the man who chased a kid down, shot him in the back. And then they want to say, well, he was trying to help, clean vomit out of his mouth to resuscitate him. Folks, that's offensive. Because the last face this scared child saw as he ran away was that man peering over him. Peering over him. And none of this happens if they stay their behinds in the store and use that intricate camera system that picked up on every angle. Could see everything from what he wore, the type of shoes that he wore, the direction he went, everything. A couple seconds is all it would have taken, just like it did in the store, to say, hey, you know what, we were wrong. But they didn't do that because they were overcome with something. Maybe it was meanness. Maybe it was malice. Maybe there's some nefarious intent in their heart. A reason for them to chase him and shoot him in the back and end his life. But again, never the two words that matter most, and I'm sorry or I made a mistake. However, none of them, because they're not. I talked to you about a poem by Omar Khayyam called Rewatch. And I told you that I would link it all together. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wipe out a word of it. Folks, that's a poem about time and how you can't erase what's been done. You can't go back and change what's been done. With all your piety, no matter how many degrees you got, how many doctorates you got, when you do something, it's there, it's done. And you can't reverse time. You may try, you may get up here and get on the stand and try to think your way through it and reason your way through it. But at the end of the day, what they did was murder. So in a more literal sense, eventually we're going to be asking that your moving hand come back and write these words. Because Rick Chow is guilty of the murder of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton. Now, folks, you're going to have a chance to deliberate in a moment. And as you deliberate, you will apply the facts, in this case to the law that the judge is going to give you in a couple of moments. And as you do that, I'm asking, Dale Scott is asking, Stephanie Taylor and Weston Lee, for all of us are asking that you return a verdict of guilty in this case. I'm just looking to make sure that I covered everything that Mr. Kent covered. I ask you to think one last thing, and I mind your face. We all know there are 50 states in the United States of America. But I think I've learned sitting in this trial that there are actually 51. There's the state of denial. The state of denial is where that man lives because he's denying that what he did was wrong. He's denying that he chased and killed that young child, Cyrus Carmack Belton, who never pointed a gun at him. The witnesses tell you so. Not his son, who's got every motive, every reason to twist it around in order to protect his father. Denial that you, the jury, believe or will believe that what he did was wrong. Denial that at the end of the day, he believed that a human life was not more than that. Folks, it's for these reasons that the state of South Carolina is asking you to return a verdict of guilty, because Rick Chow is guilty of murdering Cyrus Carmack Belton. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Madam Forelady, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the evidence and the arguments of both parties. I'm now going to explain the law which should apply in this case.
voice.
Quiet, quiet, we're still in session.
This might be a question.
All right, council, just so we're clear on the record, we gathered in the chambers. We let y'all know that we received another note, which I believe also contains some of the deliberative process of the jury, which I'm not comfortable disclosing within, basically consistent with South Carolina law. It's not. So I'm going to, and I can say, mention that at least some had indicated they may want to go home for the night. I'm not inclined to do that. This case has garnered a significant amount of media attention. I would be concerned that the jury could somehow be compromised or researched or something. So now that we've started the process, I'm going to ask them to push on through and go ahead and order dinner. Any objection to that from the state?
No. We concur.
Okay. All right, bring them in, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
See, now this bothers me. They wanted to go home and then come back another day. That could have affected the verdict. I feel like this is the white-haired defense attorney's fault. All his fault. Okay, we skipped that. All he's gonna do is tell them they can't go home.
That's the only concern I have with it.
Oh, wait.
Maybe if they're in charge.
What is happening? Is this verdict or what? What time is it? Now it's storming here again. We got a lot of tropical storms out in the Atlantic.
Right, we have everyone. I have another note to mark as Courts Exhibit 3. I'm sorry, 23. Says, Judge, we request to hear your entire instructions to the jury. So they want to be completely recharged. I don't know if I'll ask if they want to hear about, the part about their duties and my duties and all that. And maybe where some of their, that's all they pay. So I'll confirm
They just
with
don't watch
the
TV or
foreperson
whatever, just like
that
they
they
did
want
in
everything.
this,
So
during the trial.
completely recharged.
We had earlier discussed with the prosecution allowing them the written instructions. I would now request that on behalf of the defense, instead of your reading them to them, send it back to them.
What's the state's position?
Always get written instructions easily. Okay. I don't feel good, y'all. We need to move this along.
Whatever we leave, Your Honor, Mr. President, I'm thinking.
Well, I mean,
Maybe the slowest
Is this it finally? Oh, I'm sure. I don't blame them. I'm gonna have some emotions during the verdict. It says verdict on the clip, so. Alright, come on.
Your Honor. All right, man, boy, lady, I understand you reached the verdict.
Yes, Your Honor, we have.
Can you please hand it to the bailiff there?
Number 63, was this your verdict? Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 208, was this your verdict? 208, is it still your verdict? Number 226, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 329, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 222, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 164, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 21, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 204, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 232, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 259, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
The jury's been told, Your Honor.
Very good. Anything else?
Not at this time, Your Honor. We just like staff and post-trial motions going 10 days if we feel those are.
10 days for any further trial motions you may have, anything from the bench? Okay.
Put it over, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You can return to your jury room. I'll be right back there to the queue.
We'd like to thank the jury.
All right, you are adjourned. Thank you, officer.
Chow, his family have been forced to leave their home in Columbia, South Carolina, and cannot return to the area for their safety. They are seeking emergency relocation, secure housing, and personal protection. And then if somebody does something to them, they're going to go to jail. That sucks. Man. The family's fundraising page and related news reports confirm they are displaced and in hiding, relying on donations and legal support to survive. Good. I'm sorry. I don't approve of vigilante justice, but in this case, well, I still don't approve of it, but I agree with the prosecution. If they hadn't left the store, none of this would have happened. Over $1 bottle of water. I understand the mentality of they did something wrong. I need to make that right. Like, I get that mentality. He just stole a bottle of water. I'm going to go take it back. Yeah, I get that. But if you stop and think about it, it's stupid to chase somebody down for $1 bottle of water when you've seen him, you know who he is, you know what he's wearing, you know which direction he ran off in. You can just call the cops. You call the cops, you say, this guy we think he just stole a bottle of water. Give him the description, which way he ran. The cops can go looking for him and get you a dang $1 or a bottle of water, or take him to jail, or trespass him, or whatever in the heck. And everybody'd still be alive. It's so horrible that this poor kid, and he was a kid, so what? In some of his Instagram posts, he had a gun. They've not proved that he had a gun that day. All we're going by is Andy. They found another gun somewhere that wasn't right there where all this happened. They found another gun on the side of the road somewhere in another spot. So they didn't even prove that the gun was his. No one actually saw what happened. So Andy yelled, he has a gun, he has a gun. Doesn't mean that he ever pointed the gun at Andy. Doesn't even mean that he pulled the gun. It could have fallen out when he fell. And he was trying to get upright again from his fall when he got shot in the back. I just don't see how that's self-defense. Or defense of others. Or whatever. I mean, it's not self-defense. It's just not. Because the duty to retreat, to me, I don't know if this is law or not. I mean, it works both ways. I guess that's what the withdrawal thing was. I don't know. Because, like, if somebody comes in my house and I'm in fear for my life, because it's my house, I'm allowed to be here. I'm in fear for my life. I can use whatever I need to use to defend myself. But if someone breaks in and I point a gun at them and then they run off, that doesn't mean I can chase them down and shoot them. I can't say, well, he came into my house and he was going to kill me. So instead, and he ran out when I got the gun out, so I just chased him down and shot him. No, that's not how that works. That's not self-defense anymore. Which is basically what they did. also, like I said a while ago, if he was running so hard and so fast that things were coming out of his pockets and he was running out of his shoes, he was in fear for his life. So even if he did turn around and point a gun, it was because he was in fear for his life. He was defending himself. I don't know how this jury got there. I just don't know how this jury got there. I don't see it. I do not see it. I don't know how this happened. I'm shocked. I am so shocked. I don't know how this jury got there. I just don't know. I don't get it. And he'd shot people before, which of course this jury's not allowed to know. He's assaulted people and shot people. And you know, I'm not being racist or bigoted or anything like that. When I don't feel like I am. If I am, forgive me. This is not his, he's a citizen, he's a legal citizen. But this is not where he was born, right? I don't know how old he was when he came over here. But this is not what coming to America is about. You don't get to come to America, and it's not the Wild West. They're not allowed to have guns in Hong Kong. That's where he's from. He was born in Hong Kong. They don't have guns over there. That doesn't mean you can come over here and just wave a gun around at whoever you want to. That's not what guns are for. They're for protection. And you didn't need protecting. You should have kept your butt in your store where it belonged. I'm just saying. If you came over here for the American dream, that's not how you get it. I'm sad now. That poor kid. That poor family. Man, that mom crying. That poor family. Can you imagine losing your 14-year-old kid and then having to sit through this trial and everything, and then he just walks free? I think I need to watch a kitten video. Let's find puppy court. What is puppy court? Let's see what puppy court is. I need a palate cleanser.
Session. Please be seated. First on the stand, we have Mabel.
We bought the dog bed to keep him off the couch, but she said no. Picked up the dog bed off the floor, put it on the couch, and then laid on the dog bed on the couch.
It is not her fault that you're playing checkers while she's playing chess. Innocent, and please let her sleep. She looks tired. Next on the stand, we have a dog in Mexico accused of interrupting a party.
Entonces, qué bueno que me salí. No me sacaron, me salí yo prácticamente.
First of all, get your hands off him. He clearly just wanted to be involved, and we find the venue liable for not making sure he had a dance partner. Next on the stand, we have Ember. Once again, a lack of intelligence is not a crime. Next on the stand, we have Bucket.
So, you attacked the chewy box and discovered it was just cat food. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Honestly, we think it's a crime that he put in all that effort for nothing. Not saying he even did that, but if he did, maybe he's the real victim here. Innocent. Next on the stand, we have Bunny, accused of aggressively going down the stairs against her human's orders.
Walk, walk. Bunny, you gotta learn how to walk. Walk, Bunny. No.
You named her Bunny. Innocent. Lastly, on the stand, we have a dog accused of peeing on a cop.
Oh, no way.
The dog told us he would have peed on a fire hydrant, but those actually serve a public good. Other than that one comment, he pees the fifth. Puppy court is now in session. Please be seated. First on the stand, we have Mabel.
We bought the dog bed to keep him up.
Let's see. Kitten. Shorts. Kitten shorts. Why am I not finding any kitten shorts? I need kittens. What is Emily D. Baker doing on a sports thing? Why are there no more shorts? I need a kitten short. Well, they're not showing me any more shorts. Oh well. Well. Okay, I guess we're done for today. And I have no idea what we're doing tomorrow. So, when they get done with jury selection, and if they stream, which I imagine they're going to, because I keep seeing all this stuff about Tupac's murder trial, Keffy D, I guess they're going to stream it. I don't know. Yeah, that was cute. That's the guy that rates dogs. They have t-shirts that and hats and bandanas and all kinds of stuff that say, "Tell your dog I said hi." And they use the money to, I don't know how exactly they do it, but they find a dog that has been astray, that's been really hurt, like hit and run or something like that, or a dog with cancer or something like that, and they pay for their treatments, and then they find it a good home. It's really, really nice. I love that guy. I don't even know his name, but, and the dogs that he rates is adorable. Yeah, but I don't know how long. They said jury selection might take a whole week. And I don't want to start another trial and then have to stop it. Although, if we do another old trial, you know, that, not old, but you know what I mean, like, not live, we could do that in the morning and then at noon switch over to that one, because it's in Nevada. The only thing is, that puts me here, sitting here from 9 to God knows when at night. I'll be exhausted. Unless I can think of, Judy, can you think of any short trials that we haven't, that you and I have seen that we haven't done on this channel that maybe we could start now for this week? Can't think of any All the ones I think of are long ones. I have no idea what we're gonna do. We'll think of something. Judy and I will brainstorm. Litchwick. I don't remember that one. Did I even watch that one? I don't remember that one. I'll look into that. Maybe we can do that one while they're doing the jury selection. Litchwick. That sounds familiar, but I can't place it. Litchwick. I don't know. Okay. I'll look at it. We'll see. We'll do something. I'll be here. Okay, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Even though I ranted and raved and all that. Bye, guys. Have a great evening. Love y'all. See you tomorrow. Bye. Oh, that one. That's why it sounds familiar. I didn't watch that one. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that one while we're waiting on Tupac. Okay. All right. Bye.